Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 381. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V.
In my basement, as normal.
This is big time, folks.
This is where all the action happens. We are a very consistent podcast. Every Tuesday night, I'm here. Sometimes you're here. You're usually somewhere, though.
Yeah. Well, tonight I'm here. Tonight
I'm happy.
here, and I think it's unofficially. We'll see if Steve Hill plans this correctly. This wasn't planned out, but it might be official sweatshirt night. Oh. See, yourself, myself, of course. I got my Bevel sweatshirt, and
now
I believe our first guest even is going to be rocking the sweatshirt.
It's
Todd
funny.
Ryan. Are you going to tell me this isn't a sweatshirt?
Kind of. I'm kind of saying it's a hoodie. There's a slight difference.
A hoodie sweatshirt?
I don't know. See, for
Oh
me
my
personally, for
gosh.
me, a sweatshirt
God.
is something that
And
doesn't
people
have
wonder
a zipper.
why you're so dumb.
I know. A sweatshirt to me doesn't have a zipper. And I understand it's probably the same material, it's the same everything, but I always imagine a
This
sweatshirt.
is a fancier version of your sweatshirt.
I wouldn't. I don't know. If
They
I'd
cost more. They're harder to print.
Yeah, they're harder to print. Great, and they've got more stuff to them. I don't know. To me,
Oh my
I have
gosh.
I have a designation: sweatshirts, pullover.
Yeah, I mean
hoodies,
that's a
zip
style.
up.
Those are styles of sweatshirts.
I don't like that. No, I'm sorry.
Miles is out on the board, I'm sure. Miles
sure
from
he
over at
is.
Paragon.
I'm just.
Will you please
I'm sure it's designated as a
update this
sweatshirt,
idiot.
but I don't like it. I would never call that a sweatshirt. I would say you.
Then you would just
have a
be
hoodie.
wrong.
I would say you have a hoodie on.
I know, but it's called a hooded sweatshirt.
It's a hoodie.
Hoodie for short. Short standing for hooded sweatshirt.
Okay, so the Smashbox one we have that are the really light fabric. Is that a sweatshirt?
It's a sweatshirt.
Even though it's super light fabric.
It's a thin sweatshirt.
Is my T-shirt a sweatshirt? It's the same
No.
material as my zip-up hoodie upstairs with the super thin material. What's the difference?
It's still a sweatshirt though.
It's
a zip up,
my,
but yeah, sure. It's still
my
a sweatshirt.
T-shirt is now just a really thin sweatshirt. Terry Miller.
Yep. Exactly.
I know. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Oh my
Terry
gosh.
Miller. Out on the board. Let me know.
What do you think defines a
Ryan Pilcher stands with me.
Ryan?
I'm not denying that they probably under the designation of sweatshirt, but to me, a sweatshirt pulls over and does not zip up. But that, again, that's personal designation. So no.
So you must like a cardigan sweater versus a regular sweater. Like, are you suggesting a cardigan then isn't a sweater because that's not pulled over in the same way and it gets buttoned?
That's close.
No, I mean, it's the same logic.
That's close, Terry Miller. I'll have to research that and get back to you.
I don't know. A sweatshirt, according to the dictionary, though, says a loose, heavy shirt typically made of
heavy.
cotton, worn when exercising or as leisure wear.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the
Is a hoodie a sweatshirt? Sweatshirt and hoodies are sportswear garments to keep you warm in cold weather. They have quite a similar look at a glance and are often made with similar fabrics. However, there is a difference between a sweatshirt and a hoodie. Very obvious is that a hoodie
I win.
has a hood. No.
Oh.
They're saying that the fact that if there's a hood or not versus a crew neck sweatshirt. That's where they're making a distinction.
So they're defining it by the hood.
Hence a hoodie. A hoodie can be a zip-up sweatshirt. A hoodie is a zip-up sweatshirt. All right, we're done with this. We are done with this. We barely need them in Wisconsin. I guess the real point is it's
Not
in
for
the
the next 2 days.
mid 40s, gorgeous. I played
Tomorrow,
disc
60.
golf today.
Tomorrow's supposed to be 60.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is can I say thank you, climate change? I don't know. But either way, tonight we're going to get all of the updates we need and then some. We're going to get some rules and maybe some accolades and clarifications. That first we're going to have Todd Lyon here in just a moment from the PDG. I know last week we kind of quickly jumped through some of the rules or perused them or lightly glanced over them. Today we can get a little more in depth. So if you need clarifications, get your keyboard all fired up. As soon as we're done talking with Todd, we'll bring in Steve Hill. Steve Hill and the fine folks over at UDisc have been putting together an incredible countdown, talking about the best disc golf cities. They're always working on a lot of stuff and stats and numbers and whatnot behind the scenes, but the fact that someone like Steve Hill will then take some of those numbers and then turn them into, well, words more than just the numbers that they are, I think makes it that much more exciting. Get some updates and clarifications from. So that's what you're going to see for Smashbox 381 tonight. Wearing a hoodied sweatshirt is none other than Todd Lyon.
Hey, Todd, wearing your hoodie, not your sweatshirt.
You guys got me self-conscious over here. I wasn't planning on doing it, but
I mean,
it's down to 40 degrees outside right now, so it's pretty much burn the house down to stay warm weather down here.
Surprisingly, yeah, that's what we're having in Wisconsin. We consider that a heat wave. You, on the other hand,
people are walking around in shorts today.
This seems to be our cold spell.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, it's hitting everyone a little differently.
Heat back up.
So, Todd, we're going to start with the basics. Of course, it's never been a secret here that we are full PDGA supporters and enthusiasts here on the show. We have been. Johnny signed up many couple decades ago, as did I, and of course, there's always occasionally from time to time there might be a clarification or a rule or something we don't either understand and or agree with. But when it's all said and done, we've always been very pro PDGA. If anyone's ever wondered that, well, I put it out there officially. What I'd like to do,
notice that, and I give you some ovations every now and then. Join date for Terry Miller, 1996.
Yeah.
Join date for John Van Derzen.
98?
End of 98?
1998.
Yeah.
98.
Yeah. So we've been around a while. I was going to say through the good and the bad. It's almost always been good, of course. Now, let's start with the easy stuff. What is your official title and role at the PDGA right now?
Official title right now is Event Support and Training Manager. There's a couple of us. We don't manage other people. We just manage the event support. Our main role is actually a team that has been started up relatively recently in this year, where it used to be Big Dog handling the ins and outs of the regular PDGA tour. So thousands of A, B, and C tier events. Any TD that has a question, they all turn to Big Dog. And he was getting up to like answering 150 emails a day, which is not possible for the most part. So they hired a few of us on to help him with that. And in addition to providing support for tournament directors and players and whoever else needs any information from us, we have, hey, Cat. Cat's going to jump on my desk. We're going to get around to branching out into more training materials, seminars, hopefully traveling seminars like the old Directors Cup style of meetup for tournament directors. Because as far as we're concerned, or as far as I'm concerned at least, local tournament directors are the absolute bread and butter of the entire sport. If we didn't have tournament directors on the ground doing stuff, we would not be at 7,000 tournaments this year.
And that was going to be my next question, is talk a little bit about the evolution and or the rise of PDGA sanctioned tournaments just in the last 4 or 5 years or so.
I mean, seriously, it's been absolutely insane. Our previous record for number of PDGA sanctioned events in a calendar year was 2019, and we had about 4,700. It was like 4,750, maybe. Last year probably would have broke it, but COVID kind of screwed everything up, killed the sanctioning for about half the year. This year we are at 6,800, 6,900. So literal 50% increase over our previous record. And with that comes new TDs, experienced TDs running more events per year. There's just more events per weekend. You can barely find the event you're looking for on the event search page anymore. PDGA Live is, you have to scroll down for 30 seconds before you find your C tier. Everybody just starts naming their C tiers AAA.
Yeah.
Try to get at the top of the list. AAA C tier.
That only works if it's like a 2 or 3 day C tier. Because if it's just that Sunday, then it's still getting pushed to the bottom.
Still gets pushed to the bottom. But I mean that comes in line with the membership growth. Memberships are through the roof. We are this close to 199,000 right now. So I'm not following out on a daily basis, but that seems like days to weeks away from 200,000. And do you remember when we hit 100,000?
January 12th.
Oh, Johnny's picking January 12th. I don't think it's going to take that long.
You think there could be a big rush for people buying them for Christmas gifts for other people?
We always get the October 1st rush. So that's a big boom.
And then I think there's also this excitement of maybe getting sub 200,000 at this point.
Then right at the end.
Yeah. So
everyone going to try to get that 200,000
exactly,
or 19999. That
or
would be
something cool like that. Yeah. Okay,
do you remember when we hit number 100,000?
Wasn't that only like
4 years ago?
I think it was October 2016.
Okay,
I'm taking a guess.
5 years ago.
So it took 40 years to get the first 100,000, and then 5 to get the next 100,000.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Nuts.
I mean, think about it. How long has our podcast been going on? I mean, there's a reason why the PDGA is now. I mean. Just last 5 or 6 years, and disc golf is
that makes sense.
They correlate
for sure. All right, so
October 2017. I was a year off. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, for a little over 4 years here. That's insane. Okay, so let's get right to that. It's a segue. You weren't even planning. Memberships and eligibility for next year and various tiers. Break down what is now needed and the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, so that was one of the ones that came out of the competition committee that has kind of, half the people are giving it standing ovation and half the people are throwing tomatoes at the stage here.
Okay.
Where for several years now, it's been you have to have current PDGA membership to participate in an A tier. And starting next year, we're expanding that to current PDGA membership to participate in a B tier as well. And I can. My personal story on this was when they sent the proposals, when competition committee sent the proposals to the staff. I read that one, and I was mad about it and said, I started writing an email, I'm gonna rip these guys a new one. I have my 3 buddies who play in the B tier at the end of the season every year. And as I'm writing it out, I'm like, look, I understand that you are a membership-based organization and members come first. I understand that you need numbers or you need PDGA memberships to account for sandbagging. I understand that you need PDGA memberships to track disciplinary complaints. And I understand you need PDGA numbers and memberships to track professional status and money earned. And holy crap, I talked myself out of it. I completely agree with this change.
Okay.
It was within the course of writing that email, I just deleted the whole email and said, actually, I agree with this change. And that's really what it is at the base level, we are indeed a membership-based organization. So our members do indeed come first. And we have to straddle this strange balancing act of growing the sport as a whole, but also providing benefits to our members.
And I have had the argument for a long time that not every aspect of disc golf needs to be focused on growing the sport. Mm-hmm. I don't think necessarily A tiers are meant to grow the sport. A tiers are A tiers are meant for your large high level competition. And if it does grow the sport, by all means, bring people in to watch. There are aspects of that could grow the sport, but new members playing that side of growing the sport, I don't think so. And we're to the point now where, as we see, B tiers, that might not be, that might not be the way we need to grow the sport locally. Maybe we'll see an influx of C tiers.
The bread and butter of sanctioned tournaments is still C tiers.
Mhm.
They're the vast majority of the tournaments are C tiers, and leagues, PDGA leagues, are skyrocketing. And then beyond that, you have your local clubs, weekly dubs or handicap leagues that aren't even sanctioned. Those probably outnumber everything. So,
yeah, and for me, what I love about it is, and I know this got dabbled in a number of years ago, the idea about PDGA members maybe even taking precedent over non-PDGA members for things like a wait list and or getting into tournaments, and that might have been at the time a little bit ahead of its time. I think about if I went right now to almost any other sport and wanted to become a competitor in something they were hosting or putting on, and I can only think of a few examples, but if I did go to one and they said, oh, you need to be a member of our governing body or of our overall organization, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, for instance, if I wanted to go play in a racquetball tournament down at the local gym and they said, actually, there's a National Racquetball Association that you have to pay 10 or 20 or 50 bucks for because this is like, I just wouldn't even bat an eye at that. And I would think of that if there was a National Cribbage Association or literally any an archery competition or clay shooting, like any competition that took place, if they said, hey, we're a sanctioned component of our governing or national or international body, and therefore you have to be either a temporary or a full-fledged member of that for the year, that's a benefit. Like, it's funny how I don't think we'd bat an eye at that. But for disc golf, everyone's up in arms saying, well, if I just want to go play one event a year, I shouldn't have to become a member. Like, well, why not?
To a certain extent, we dug ourselves into the hole of dug ourselves into this hole. We've been a cool bro buddy sport for so long that when we tried to take it in a more professional, organized direction, it's gonna ruffle some feathers. Understandably, I get it, but that's the direction we want to go.
Yeah, I think it provides yet one more benefit when people say, what does it do for me to be a member of the PDGA? I don't need to do that. Well, here's yet another member benefit: is you're eligible to play in B tiers and above. I personally, I'm fine with it, with where we are, especially with where we are in our sport. We've evolved into that. All right, let's move on to another rule. What's
Hannah actually?
I don't care about Hannah.
I know Hannah on the board actually brought up a good question. With the huge growth of the sport, is the PDGA looking at different options or different rules for distance between tiers? We know that you can't have an A tier within so many miles of another A tier on the same weekend and B tier, but with the huge expansion of the sport, we're seeing some of these more. I think it's going to affect the East Coast more severely because they're much more densely populated.
Yeah. Or Michigan with their 15 A tiers a year.
Yeah, or Michigan who wants to have an A tier, two on the same weekend and can fill them both. Let's be fair, they can fill them both. Is the PDGA looking at this? Is this something that we need to address?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my next personal project that I'm gonna tackle, is at least a review of it. And half of the complaint sometimes I'm like, do you know what the distance requirement between two C tiers is?
16 miles?
0.
Yeah.
0 miles. You can have two C tiers in the same park for all we care. But, that doesn't fix every complaint. There are sometimes, that my B tier has a 50-person wait list. Come on, just let me have a C tier next door. And, we still, even now, we do provide waivers for it. If the TDs are on board and if the state coordinator's on board, then we'll give you the thumbs up and say, yeah, sure. As long as the higher precedence one signs off, it's cool with us. But, that is extra legwork and a little extra paperwork just to, emails back and forth to make sure you've got everything sorted out. But yeah, I can't make any promises on what or if new mileage regulations will come out. They won't be for 2022. They'll be for 2023. But definitely looking at it.
Okay, excellent.
All right. I'll leave this one to you. What is the next most debated or either criticized and or praised rule change that's being implemented? What's the next?
Maybe the Mando rule. I mean,
Okay.
actually, I thought the Mando rule would be tougher, and it went over smoother than I was expecting. But I've had a couple of in-person throwdowns about it as well.
So give it to us.
All right.
Yeah. So the new Mando rule is very simple, cut and dried. Saying the tournament director defines the mandatory plane, which is, the wrong side of the Mando. It's, the tree and this line on the ground, or it's the light pole and the third baseline of the baseball field, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Two lines define a plane in geometry. If your disc penetrates the plane ever, you have missed the Mando. The end.
So
and that is different from the old way, which is if you went the correct side around the Mando and then you rolled backwards through the wrong side of the Mando, then you had not missed the Mando. So it was this really weird, you are allowed to throw across the Mando if you go backwards across the Mando first, which quite frankly,
I'm looking at the picture
goofy
on the PDGA page where I see a tree and Mando to the left of the tree.
Yep.
Out of bounds to the right, so to speak.
Yeah.
Are we adding ambiguity when someone throws into the tree, up into the bushes, the top fluffy part of the tree? That
I don't think it necessarily,
maybe it penetrated and bounced back, but I can't tell because I kind of hit the thing. But is the Mando? Yeah. Is it the line or is it the tree trunk? Is it a line on the tree? Are we adding a little bit more
part of
designation?
This is definitely tournament directors have to set up their courses properly.
Mm-hmm. They
just have to. You can't just say tree is Mando and expect players to know what to do with that sentence. If it has a split trunk, tell me which side it is, or go out and paint a dot on it, or put a ribbon around the section of the tree that's the Mando. And you'll need another thing like we've had for the last few years, a line on the ground, or a line of flags, or a marker in the distance, because you can't just make a single line pointing upwards, because your plane can rotate in any angle around that line. So the tournament directors still are responsible for making rules that make sense for their course. And big bushy trees are not good Mandos, and they never have been good Mandos. So please stop using them, because that's the number one way to get your players mad at you, is introduce vagueness into your course rules.
Okay.
So give me an example, and we realize you're not picking on any event and or course, but give us an example of where you feel like this may really solidify or clarify or negate the ambiguity. Is there any particular course or hole that most of us are familiar with where you're like, hey, this will finally fix the problem with blank hole?
I don't. Nothing's coming to the top of my head right there. But
Okay.
what it does fix is the ambiguity or the complication of that 4-page Q&A from the old rule book.
Okay.
Where it was, if your disc crosses the Mando and then bounces backwards, or if it goes the correct side of the Mando and then rolls backwards and then goes back forward again. And there's, a ton of permutations that you can make of, yeah, but what if my disc did this first? And what if? And instead the answer is no. Did it break the plane? That's the only question you have to answer.
Yeah, not did it break the plane, or did it completely break the plane?
Completely and clearly penetrate through the plane.
Similar to the OB rule. Okay.
Yeah, and to answer, the bushy question, sometimes you're going to have to say, did it clearly break the plane? Did it hit a branch, go through the plane by 1 inch, hit a branch, and bounce backwards, back across? If it's not clear, then you can't say that it did. It's just
Okay.
Sometimes a group call comes into it. Most of the time when you miss a Mando, you miss it by 30 feet and you fly 100 feet past the Mando.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty clear that you broke it.
What?
Additionally, I was going to, one other caveat on this before I forget. The Mando dance, where your line of play, instead of going to the basket, goes to the Mando if you're in the wrong location, blah, blah, blah. No more Mando dance. It's just the line of play goes to the target, the end.
Oh, wow. So
That's
that,
just a delete that sentence out because all it did was confuse people.
yeah. So,
Didn't-
I mean, and
Make
for
any
what it's
change
worth,
for play.
the most, I think the most obvious time when that came into play is when we would see people lining up on hole 7 at USDGC, and how you would have to line up to the Mando, or the mouth,
not last
so to
year,
speak.
but 2020. What year is this? 2020.
So
I can't remember what round it was, but I had a nice conversation. You can see me on camera talking with Simon, showing him drawing a line. He's 2 feet away from the Mando, right up against the bamboo wall. It's really awkward. Where can he put his foot? It's a goofy conversation to have, and kind of just got tired of having that conversation.
So wait,
Okay.
so run that by me again. I think I missed that. What, the basket and the Mando line?
So you just play you pretend as if a Mando doesn't exist, in terms of you used to have to play to a Mando as if the Mando was the basket, and that was your line of play. Now you're just playing at the Mando, doesn't really matter where it is. You're still just playing the basket to the basket as your line of play. That's what you're saying,
Basket
correct,
is line
Todd?
of play at 100% of the time on the course. The
Bingo.
basket defines the line of play.
Okay.
Yeah. And as you said, it was maybe difficult to explain or to have that conversation. A lot of people didn't even realize how it was supposed to be played in the first place, and maybe that's why just erasing all of that conversation.
Don't even know the rule, then half the people don't realize the rule even exists. Then it's probably not a rule that needs to exist.
Okay. All right, gotcha. Next, highly discussed and or blowback rule. What would you say that was?
Holing out.
Okay.
I'd say, with this one has just over the years has bounced back and forth.
Yep.
Like it has never settled for more than 3 years, ever.
And give us a little history, though. And you're right. Johnny and I have been around and seen every iteration of this rule now, back and forth, waffling back and forth.
Yeah.
Who's driving that bus? Is that the board? Is that the competition committee? Who typically is driving that bus for this flip-flopping?
Yeah, I mean, it can really proposals can come from a variety of different angles. The rules committee or competition committee just have year-long or perpetual conversations about everything. Somebody saw something at a tournament last week and said, "Ooh, that's a loophole. Let's fix that." We'll try to fix that for next year's rules or something. Or we get some emails that say, "Do you guys realize you have a loophole?" And we go, "Oh my God, thank you for pointing that out. We'll jump right on that." Or the omnipresent arguments on Facebook or DGCR about some hypothetical that may or may not have happened. Or the board sometimes reaches down and says, "Hey, let's try to fix this up." This is, a pet peeve of a majority of the board members. And if a majority of the board members don't like it, we're going to fix it. That's the way boards work.
Yeah.
And so as we discussed last week, the new rule is basically anything that is supported by the basket, other than
basket or the chains,
is considered good. So more or less wedging it in now is considered good. But I have to ask, because we discussed it last week, why not resting on top? What is the thought process behind that? I mean,
my cheapest answer to that is the basket is the catchy part, and the top is not the catchy part. There's a part of the basket that is designed to catch the disc, and that is the chains and the basket. And if by fluke you land on top, or if by fluke you are resting on the padlock on the bottom, those are not the part of the baskets that's designed to catch the disc. And it's kind of a trite answer.
No, but I think the lock is the great example there that you gave, and the off chance that you hit and you bounce up and you're resting on, because we know not all baskets are mounted in perfectly. Sometimes they're up a little higher, so maybe that lock is 2 to 3 inches off the ground. Your disc wedges on top of that lock, and you've got people looking on the ground to see whether it's touching the ground or not. I guess I can get behind that. It just kind of seems not arbitrary is maybe not the right word. It just seems strange that we're now including virtually everything but resting on the top. So, all right.
3 years. Say,
3 years.
Taken.
We'll change.
Noted.
I don't care one way or the other. I'm not landing on top. I'm putting it in.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, this one again was just try to simplify it. So you don't have to have so many diagrams and a question every other day on Reddit or Facebook of, oh my God, does this count? And a huge debate. We'll still have a few of those debates, but hopefully there will be fewer. This is simpler. You don't have to do that whole argue about benefit of the rule or benefit of the doubt, which is not a rule in the first place.
Yeah.
You can't say it didn't wedge from the inside, so benefit to the player, that's a bunk argument and always has been, but at least we don't have to have that argument anymore.
Okay.
Before we get back to that one, another one that I didn't even notice or realize until now, again, going through this list on the PDGA website, it says regarding grouping and sectioning, the new provision lays out explicit regulation of ghost groups, limiting their use to emergency situations only.
Some TDs have gotten a little mad about that one.
Course flooding.
I've always done ghost groups, and it's always been perfect.
Yeah.
It's never added complications.
Yeah,
and,
right.
I hear you, and, you have the right to be upset if you've always done it and it's always been perfect. But in general, that's just one of those things where we want the TDs to make sure that the players' well-being and the players' enjoyment is the focus of the tournament, not cramming 4 other people in there, not cramming 8 more people in there. As a tournament director, your responsibility is to provide a fair tournament for all players involved. And not having backups and I'm going to probably repeat that a few times. It's the same thing as TDs not playing in their own tournaments. Is your responsibility as the TD is to your players. And cramming extra people on the course backfires too much, and you get too many complaints of this TD screwed us all by putting 100 people on a 72-person course, and the tournament sucked because of it.
And I think you're going to see a lot more alternate filler holes. Hey, here's a 130-foot wide open hole, 18B. Yeah. I would personally love it if TDs put out there the number of holes you were playing before you got to the event as part of this is an 18-hole event. So when I walk up and I suddenly find out it's 20 holes and I have a two shots that are 230 feet back and forth in a field, so the TD could fit 8 more people in, and just more or less causes a backup because the hole before that or after that is a par 5, and now we've got a 4-group backup at the par 5. That's a personal thing, but I understand that's very difficult for the PDGA to regulate right now. That is that's a pet peeve, because there's been a few events that I've gone to where that happens.
Yeah, it feels like the easy alternative because you're a TD and you're trying to satisfy as many players as possible, and then next thing you know, there's 4 and 6 and 8 people on the waiting list, and then they're saying, but right after 17, there's that long walk. We could just throw another hole in there. You could totally fit more people on the course. Again, the people that are on the wait list always have the brightest ideas. Let me tell you that. I've learned that in running hundreds of tournaments.
Or like Christy says, suddenly instead of 4-somes, you have 3 5-somes or 5 4-somes.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Whatever.
Everybody has bright ideas when they're trying to get in.
There will be ways around this ghost hole thing, unfortunately, but I like the start. I think it's a good step.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. So what I feel like is one of maybe the toughest rules to really, I don't want to say scrutinize, but to adhere to and totally apply would be the excessive time. So
yeah, and what the main complaint that I hear about that is this going to solve anything? And one rebuttal is, if players are not calling excessive time because they don't want to be the bad guy, this isn't going to solve it. You
okay.
can't. If players refuse to make calls, they're going to refuse to make calls no matter what the rules are. The problem is not the rule, it's they don't want to make a call. But this does at least eliminate essentially an excuse of, oh, you can't call that on me. A bird chirped in my backswing. I had to reset, and that gave me 30 more seconds. Or there was a car on the road behind the basket, or I heard a siren going down the highway. Like, guess what? There's always going to be a siren going down the highway. You got to throw.
Does it still provide any ambiguity when the second point within there it says after the previous player has thrown and after they have had a reasonable amount of time to arrive at and determine their lie? That still feels like there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Of course.
But I think
that is unchanged.
Mm-hmm.
So any ambiguity that was there last year will be again this year. And I think people are reading too much ambiguity into it.
Okay.
What's a reasonable amount of time? Like, what's the amount of time it takes you to walk down the fairway? Because if you think, you throw a 100-foot shot and the other three players throw a 300-foot shot. So as soon as that fourth player is done on the tee pad, hole one or point one of the rule is satisfied after the previous player has thrown. But you're still 100 feet away. You're at the tee pad. Your tee shot's, off in the woods 100 feet. So it's not like you have to sprint up there and throw within 30 seconds of the last guy throwing. So you have a reasonable amount of time to walk up the fairway in a reasonable fashion. You don't have to run, but also
Ricky.
If you're sitting on the tee pad purposely waiting for 5 minutes, that's not reasonable anymore. And then determine the lie, if it's up in a tree and you have to drop a mini onto the ground beneath it, you get a few more seconds to determine where to actually put your mini. Or if you went out of bounds and you have to have a conversation with your group, did I go out here or did I go out there? That's determining your lie. And you all agree where you went out of bounds. You say, all right, here, is this good? Card says thumbs up. All right, now your lie has been determined. Take your meter, throw your shot.
Yeah, I think it's an easy way to kind of look at it is, when does a player put his foot behind the mini? From that point, 30 seconds.
But
I
then
understand.
You have people
I know.
not
I
putting their
understand.
minis down.
I understand that they'll say, but really, if we're determining the lie, very few players are walking around and looking around and whatever. Most of the time, the rule is, I'm not afraid to say it, Gannon Burr, Nicola Castro, who step behind that mini and then take longer than 30 seconds. If it takes them 20 seconds to determine a lie, or your disc is in a tree and it takes you 15 seconds or 20 seconds to get in there.
Yeah, nobody's ever complained about that.
Nobody complains about that because everybody understands that that's an unfortunate situation. It's the people that are just excessive
or standing over their lie.
Yeah, standing over their lie. So I kind of feel like the layman's term is, when you put your foot behind the lie, that's when you start the timer at that point.
And that's being generous to the thrower too.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody's still taking 30 seconds after that, come on, we've already been generous enough.
Yeah.
You could have stood behind your lie 15 seconds earlier, but I gave you that 15 seconds for free. Now you're behind your lie and it's still taking you 30.
Yeah.
Well, let's go, bud.
Yeah. And then following along with in the lines of excessive time, it goes ahead to say part C of this is a player may request extra time from the group to take a bathroom break. If the player does not return in a reasonable time, the player is considered missing for the hole and receives the score of par +4 for the hole. Again,
I consider that the same that everybody has already done anyway. Now we've just written it down.
Sure. Yeah. I have never seen someone say, "Hey, I have to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom quick?" And somebody else in the group like, "Nope." Like I've also never seen that happen. And
we
so
all do it. We all have done it. You got to go to the bathroom. Yeah, cool. We'll just wait here. Go to the bathroom. When you come back, we'll carry on.
The only time that the whole conversation could get mildly awkward is if somebody obviously must really have to use the bathroom, but if the bathroom is a very, very long way away, and then they're thinking, well, I've got that time, and it's like, I don't know. I think of a place like you're out at Fountain and you're literally hundreds of feet away or 6 holes away from the nearest porta potty, or at any course, I suppose. And like, no, you're not going to be. I understand you have to go, but that's not going to be accepted. Like, hey,
you got to wait 3 holes.
You're going to have to wait at least 3 more holes till we're that much closer.
Go wade waist deep into the pond.
Nobody will tell the difference.
Okay. All right. So I think that's great. I don't see any real, like you said, it's something that felt like it was unwritten anyway, but now it's actually within the rules.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about the whole Johnny McRae thing, but I don't necessarily feel that this is directly responsible because Johnny didn't know where Paul was.
No.
Yeah.
Like at the time. It wasn't like Paul might have asked or talked to somebody in his group, but I don't think Johnny realized that. So while, yes, this does address that, I don't think it's directly because of that. So
right. Agreed.
Okay.
When was that? That was 2014 anyway. So
God, was it that long ago?
No.
15, 16? It was a while ago.
That was a Pro Tour event, right? Memorial?
I was going to say we were live for it, but that could have been just about any year.
I'm going to go 2016.
All right. Well, I was just throwing out the number. I was making stuff up.
Yeah, that's what we do. Okay. Reading down any other major rules. Distribution of prizes. Has there been anything that's... So let's talk about... Yeah, you have to be a member or not to... We talked about having to play, but current member or not, or have a number... even if you're not current at a certain event or to win prizes?
So
break that down.
Is in order to take cash, so obviously a pro field or a pro division, and accepting cash as a pro division, not declining and taking merch, but to take cash as a pro player, you have to have a PDGA number, which does not necessarily mean you have to be current. But if you were current and you let it lapse and you still sign up with that number, which you are required by rule to do, and a lot of people don't, but they should, it's mostly just a tracking thing. We want to have a lifetime supply or a lifetime winnings. We can't have, or we don't want people winning cash in pro divisions by claiming to be John Doe and then going back down to MA1 the next week with their own name and number and playing in MA1 or MA2.
So, I mean, if you really think about it, this is most applicable at our C tiers now because of you have to be a PDGA member, a current PDGA member, to be playing in a B tier. So this really applies to...
Doesn't matter for them. What are the options? I'm going to use real life example here in Wisconsin. Nate Clayson, a gentleman who only plays local leagues, at this pitch and putt course. He finally goes to his first ever event. It's a C tier, and he takes second place. It's $309 for second place. He's never signed up for the PDGA. What is the responsibility of both the player and the TD at that point? Well, the Comp Manual 110A for 2022, any player accepting cash in a pro division at a PDGA sanctioned event, except for leagues, must have a PDGA number for tracking purposes prior to the start of the event. So, if you're planning on cashing, sign up beforehand.
Wow.
Because then it's just people refusing to get a membership until they cash and then just get a membership at the last second.
Can I use the money I cashed with to buy my membership?
Well, that's what I thought originally was going to be the rule, is that your money would have to be taken out of there. That's why I used the amount I did, or conversely, you could have said, what if you won $27 but wasn't current? But effectively, you have to be a PDGA member in the pro division, in any pro division. If I understand what you just said,
yeah,
you don't know if you're going to cash or not. You're assuming you are. I mean, hopefully that's why you're signing up and playing pro. That's my point.
You hope.
But let's just say, yeah, that's. I don't want to say it's a TD nightmare, but in theory, every single person that plays in any pro division that could potentially win money would have to be a current or past PDGA member.
Pretty much. I mean, if you are not, then you can. You would be declining the cash by default. Either bumping the cash to the next one, taking a trophy, taking merch, but just no cash.
Okay, so does that answer Nate's scenario? He takes second, and you're like, "Hey, Nate, you're not a PDGA member, so
here's $100 in merch.
You get nothing." And yeah, I'm a little, because if he's supposed to be a member or have a number for even playing in the event, but didn't, and then he goes ahead and cashes, I mean, then it's back on the TD who didn't verify that he did or didn't have a number.
Okay. All right, we're all stumped on this one. Right. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, I'm going to make a loose promise that it'll be built into Tournament Manager.
Okay, which makes sense.
This guy doesn't have a number, so I'm just going to by default bump it.
Check his ID because it might be
if you're using Tournament Manager, it'll make your life a little, easier.
Welcome, Ron Van Derzen to the pro division.
Yeah, and somebody like, wow, there's a worse Van Derzen than John already that's out there.
He plays lefty. Yep. It's not good.
Yep.
All right. I think that covers all of those things. I see moving obstacles stance. I don't know, relief from obstacles. Is there anything else out there that is really pressing that's noteworthy?
A lot of the stuff is, a lot of the other things are minor ones that are either clarifications. They're not like major ways that we are changing the game. They're just, instead of using the term stance area, we just said on the playing surface where a supporting point may be placed when taking a stance. Yeah, a few more words, but it's a definition instead of a vague term that we forgot to define. You guys had a complaint I like this one. Self-interference is effectively an abandoned throw. If your disc is rolling backwards into certain doom off of a cliff and into a river,
and you kick the disc to make sure you don't ever lose it.
Yep, just grab it and go back to your previous lie with a penalty stroke. Because if it's self-interference, then, self-interference can either be intentional or unintentional.
Yep.
But it's just an abandoned throw. You go back to your previous lie with a stroke. So that makes life a little bit easier of, grabbing your disc before it goes in the river.
Yeah.
We don't see a lot of that.
No, I was thinking of...
Not often.
I was thinking, though, Sarah Hokum... putting with the rollaway at D-Glow. So she has a 150-foot rollaway, and while it's rolling,
she just knocks it over.
She just runs over there and hits it. She finger guns it and then runs up to it and kicks it. And at that point, she goes to the previous lie. She reputts
15 feet away
from 15 feet with the penalty.
As opposed to going all the way back.
Which is essentially the same option she had anyway. If she let it roll 150 feet down the hill and goes, oh my God, I don't want to walk all the way down there. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to reputt from my previous lie. I'm going to abandon my throw.
With a stroke penalty.
Okay.
With the stroke penalty is the exact same.
Oh, I so want to see somebody use this, though, like intentionally.
There was
like that example.
A few years ago, 2018 maybe, I think it was a Delwood tournament.
Okay.
I think it was Nico putting from the side of a river. hit the cage, had a nasty roll straight back at him, and like right to the raging river, and he like essentially grabbed it as it was touching the water. And then I couldn't quite see where his feet were placed on the video. It was like 2 feet to the side, so his straddle putt, I'm like, well, either of his right foot was on his previous lie and his left foot is on where he went out of bounds. But that was a obvious case that I recall of, on video, a player saving their disc from certain peril. And when I saw it happen, I'm like, oh my God, what did he just do? Oh no. Oh no. But now the rule is, yeah, that's fine. Just go to your previous lie.
Well, and in that case, he would have been able to putt from his previous lie if it was going out of bounds anyway. I mean, so, yeah. Okay.
Some good stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just trying to see if there was anything else that jumped out. Like you said, there was some clarification on terminology.
Last week, you guys were talking about a absent for their starting hole.
Yeah.
Okay, break that down.
Yeah,
so a couple of minor changes on that are essentially you have to be at your group when it's time to start. And this is a rule meant to treat all players on the card the same. Like if you're the first player on the box and you're 45 seconds late after the starting horn, you just got a penalty. But if you're the fourth player on your box and you're 45 seconds late after the starting horn, you got lucky. Because it's going to take a minute and a half for your first 3 players to tee. Why should you get special treatment just because you're fourth on the box? The other quirky one is if there's a threesome and the first person on the card is not present, he gets a 30-second timer going, and now he's late. But what if the second or third person's not there? First person throws, or first person can't throw because you have to have 2 other people there to witness it. So the second or third person has an indefinite clock because the first person is incapable of throwing. So therefore, it is never the second person's turn in the throwing order. So you can just be as late as you want and kind of get away with it scot-free.
And that's when that's when I said if you have a threesome and someone doesn't show up, the 2 people, from my history,
what do you do?
That haven't you split
just
up?
Kind of stand there and you look at each other.
I mean, you take your card, assuming it's a separate card, or you walk over to their card and say, "Hey, can you write me on the bottom of that one?" And or keep track of it, and then you split up and they're gone. And then suddenly the third guy comes walking up. He's like, "No, I swear to God, I had like a minute here." And now he's got no.
I was third on the card. I was just hanging out because you guys had 30 seconds each.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a standing.
If you're not there, you're late.
There's a standard politeness.
You're standing 30 feet away.
Yeah, a standard rule to live by is never show up late to a threesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I mean, you don't want to miss out.
Never want to miss out. All right, we're moving on.
The director hates you.
Yeah.
That's it.
They hate you too. Yeah. All right. Anything?
Probably one of the last ones, the out of bounds rule, a little different.
Just meaning that
where to take your lie.
Yeah. So break that down for us.
Essentially, the motivation behind the new out of bounds relief came from corner cases, literally corner cases.
Yeah.
If your disc is at the tip of a peninsula or in the corner of an OB area, and you take your meter perpendicular from the last spot it's in bounds, but now that's 6 inches away from the OB on the other side of the L.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take another meter? It's a little weird. People, what is that, 80602? 80602, the 2018 rules, 80602 D3. Player whose disc is out of bounds receives a penalty throw. The player may throw next from previous lie, a lie designated by a disc up to 1 meter away. And then this number 3, if a perpendicular lie as described above is not available, a lie designated by a marker disc, blah, 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 and is up to 1 meter away from any out of bounds area. So that was a really weird thing where people would read that and go, yeah, you get a meter from all OB lines all the time. And like, well, the first clause of that of that rule is if a perpendicular lie as described above is not available. And I've seen people, no, your lie was available, and now you just took a second meter off of a different OB line. What the heck are you doing? Your lie was clearly available. But it's just a vagary. Like, what does that clause even mean? How do you enforce it? You're going to have a big argument every time. Well, you could have put your disc, or you could have put your mini a half a meter away and taken a lie. You clearly can. So we cleaned that up and just said, essentially got rid of the perpendicular part. If your disc goes out of bounds, you take your last spot and you just go a meter in any direction from that last spot. So that should get you away from a corner. As an added bonus, if you go out of bounds right behind a tree, it means you don't have to take a meter in. Now your meter in is in the middle of a tree, and now you have to take solid obstacle relief. That's confusing. You just take it at a different angle.
If that basket is within a meter of OB, and I go OB, can't I just put it in the basket? And that's my lie, and
you ace. You OB ace.
I have an OB2.
I don't think that the bottom of the cage is where a stance can reasonably be taken.
Oh, I'm 6'6". I will stand in that cage, Todd Lyon.
And so, also,
try.
Just to clarify, it's essentially like a bubble around that spot, and that includes closer to the pin?
Semicircle.
Yep. Yeah, like a semicircle or, effectively a semicircle bubble around your last spot in bounds. And, you can go closer to the pin. You can go closer to the pin as you are now. Your perpendicular lie takes you closer to the pin like 50% of the time. So this one, you can take a 45-degree angle off of your last spot and get yourself an extra, foot and a half closer, to really save yourself that stroke.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's a compromise we were willing to live with, is you just took a stroke for being out of bounds, and now you're getting a free foot closer to the basket. Okay, that's fine. I'm not offended by you taking a 45-degree angle instead of a 90-degree angle.
Okay, so can we just do one final thing that's not even in this year's rules? Can you clarify the benefit goes to the player?
Oh, Terry, come on.
Can you just clarify that?
Terry.
I love to harp on. I know.
Steve Hill is on the line. We've got
this is his last one. I love to harp on this, and it falls on deaf ears all the time. So I would love to hear it from you.
I'm going to go get a drink. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Benefit goes to the player is not a rule, and it has never been a rule.
Thank you.
The rule is if a violation has clearly occurred, you are expected to call it. If, if a disc is sort of OB, sort of not OB, you're having to have a big, long discussion. This painted line is a little fuzzy. The edge of the concrete's a little unclear. The rule that you are trying to follow is if the disc is clearly and completely surrounded by an OB area. If it's not clearly out of bounds, then it's not out of bounds. The benefit of the doubt rule only comes into play if you have taken a vote and the vote is tied. Two people say you're in bounds, two people say you're out of bounds, then you take the one that's more beneficial to the player. Therefore,
tie goes to the
bounds.
player.
If you may have missed a mando, two people say you clearly missed the mando, two people say you did not clearly miss the mando, that is a tie. Then the tie benefit goes to the player. But you can't just stand there and go, geez, I don't know if it's out of bounds. Benefit to the player, I guess. That is not how you play that rule.
Can we repeat that for the billion people?
I'm pretty sure this hit the bank way up here. Benefit of the doubt goes to the player.
Yeah, benefit goes to the player.
I say all the time you're throwing across a lake. The disc lands, from your perspective, you see a little splash about a foot away from the far bank.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, ooh,
clearly
man,
you take it up there.
I can't tell if that touched the far bank or if it just landed straight in the water. And somebody in your card goes, well, benefit to the player, I guess. And I reply, I have no reason to believe it touched that bank. throw a provisional back here. We'll walk up. If there's a piece of mud on the disc, if it left a divot in the mud on the bank, sure, that's some pretty good reasonable evidence that you landed in bounds and bounced backwards. But you can't just make something up and call it benefit.
Yes.
Well, same thing with the basket, like I said, well, you can't say it didn't wedge out from the inside given the old rules, therefore benefit to the player. No. That is not how it works.
This is unequivocally the number one.
This is a thorn in Terry's ear.
It's so, because I watch it with our top and mid and bottom level players every single weekend I am on a course. I watch players walk up to instances and just say, well, benefit goes to the player. Like, they have no other logic other than just to throw that out.
Call them in bounds. That's fine.
But
if you look at it and say, man, that is so fuzzy, I can't tell, then the answer is in bounds because it's not clearly out. But the answer is not in bounds because of benefit.
Yes, it is to be used in a tiebreaker situation. But first there has to be a tie.
On that note, you do get a vote. The thrower is part of the group. The thrower gets a vote.
Correct, which also I've seen...
None of this standing back going, I'm not allowed to say.
Yes.
You are allowed to call a foot fault on yourself. You're allowed to say, I'm pretty sure I'm in bounds. Prove me wrong. Don't be a jerk about it. But you are allowed to... You're allowed to vote on anything you do. You're allowed to call rules on yourselves. If you can declare yourself to be out of bounds, then you sure as hell can declare yourself on a foot fault.
I watched, I think very specifically about a one world champion this year who just refused, like, well, I'm not gonna chime in. There's a debate whether she was in bounds or not.
My disc, I shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, I can't chime in. She would have been.
You think you're in? Call yourself
if she would have been in, then it would have been a 2-2 decision. And then benefit of the doubt benefit would have went to the player because it would have been a tie. But she didn't want to chime in because she didn't think that was fair to chime in. So therefore, it was 3 meh, and then I think the wrong call ended up still being made. So anyway, all right, and benefit
that does
only goes to the player in a tiebreaker scenario.
You can you can advocate for yourself. We still expect you to uphold sportsmanship,
of course,
and honor and dignity. You can't just say, well, I declare myself in bounds when you're 15 feet out. I declare myself in bounds. You three have to get a unanimous decision to overrule me. But you do get a vote. And, benefit is a very specific thing. Benefit only. Let me search for benefit.
Yeah, it only comes into play in a tie.
Only it's in the rules.
I've looked it up.
80103. When the group cannot reach a majority decision regarding a ruling, the ruling is based on the interpretation that is most beneficial to the thrower. And the word benefit appears 3 times in the rules. One of them is what I just read. The other one is in a Q&A that says, my disc is unclear. Doesn't benefit of the doubt go to the player? And the answer is benefit of the doubt only comes into play as a tiebreaker.
Bingo.
So
I'll hear it wrong next weekend, though. Wherever I am, whatever course I'm at, no matter what level of play, I will hear somebody walk up to it and say, "Oh, benefit goes to the player."
Terry, as a longtime PDGA member, I dub the ability to slap players that say that. So if you are filming, if you are media, and you hear someone say that in the wrong instance, I now dub the ability to slap said player.
Just like the Batman and Robin meme.
The meme. And everybody knows now. Like, you can't slap anybody for any other reason. But if I see you slap someone on the course, I'll be like, benefit of the doubt goes to Terry.
Yep.
Because they clearly played that wrong.
Commentators on that? Some commentators every now and then bust out those words too.
Yes, Terry, you can slap your commentator, your co-commentators.
All right. Well, Todd doesn't disagree with this idea, so he says I'm good with it. I'm basically good. Slapping around.
All right, Todd. Player, you'd be DQ'd on the spot.
Well, that's why
you're not a player.
I know that's why you play like one event a year now.
I have no legal control over you. I have no authority.
I used used to be on the PDGA disciplinary committee, so I could have got you out of this, but I'm not on that anymore, so I can't help you.
I'm going to start slapping people. All right, Todd. Well, any last words before we let you go? Anything else that we need to hear from you before we let you go as the PDGA continues to grow
I love
and thrive?
seeing you on the course. Honestly, are you going to be at most of the DGPT events this year? The big Elite Series?
Unsure. I am not sure. Most of my life is spent answering emails and phone calls nowadays. I'm not on the road as much as I was for the last couple years.
You're my favorite lurker.
You lurk like none other.
More so than even Thomas Gilbert. Like you like watching you kind of just with your hand behind your back walk up to any situation and just kind of peek your nose in. It's one of my favorite things.
He's just waiting for somebody to say benefit of the doubt.
Breath, go, yep, I'm here if you need me, guys.
Yeah.
And I back up. And most of the time they probably didn't even realize I was there. They argue for 5 more minutes. I go, guys, I'm here if you need me. I don't know. My final words here are from Chuck Connolly several years ago at a tournament that he was a TD. In his players meeting said, "Look, guys, the rules aren't there to punish you. The rules are there to make sure we're all playing the same game." And I thought that was quite pithy, and I repeat it as often as I get. As often as I get? As often as I can. The only way to be fair. As often as you get to. As often as I get to. That's what I meant to say. The only way to be fair to everybody is to apply the rules to everybody at the end.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. All right, Todd. Well, thank you, and we'll anoint you as the official PDJ representative here for the night. So on behalf of us, we appreciate and love everyone over at the PDGA. We're obviously proud members ourselves, and we see the PDGA continue to grow and thrive, including the staff and all of the extra effort, the support staff that takes place at the events, and even there's a hotline for crying out loud. 4 TDs now, so it's just incredible to see it, and and we're super glad, and everybody I think at the PDGA should already know that anytime there's great topics to bring up or things that want a direct line out to our smashies, we're glad to take anyone at any point. So thank you for volunteering and offering your services to come on and make a few clarifications with us here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good talking to you, fellas.
All right, take care. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
I like his hoodie.
I do like his hoodie. What we need this year is Todd Lyon in like one of those ghillie suits, the ones with the big, they look like a Swamp Thing. So he's just hiding. Yep. And at one point, whenever there's a question, he just pops up and like, let me tell you the answer to this, guys. And then he just vanishes.
Yeah.
I think that way. He's a great lurker. I love watching him in the back because you know that if Todd's there, the right answer is going to happen.
Not necessarily, and I say that because he lets it play out. Yeah,
he's asked.
He always lets it play out, and there's been a number of times where he's like, "Yeah, they made the wrong call there," or "Yep, so and so stupid." I'm like, "Yeah, I agree. I heard that conversation. That was really dumb of them, but that's what the group decided to do." But yes, thank you so much to Todd and the staff and the crew, and looking forward to seeing him around the country this year.
And if tonight can't get any more exciting,
yes,
we have covered rules.
80307-DB. Yep.
If you can't get more exciting than rules, you know what you go to?
Stats. Yeah. Stats.
And we have the number one stats company in the sport of disc golf right here with us.
We do? Statmando's available?
Awkward.
We love them.
We love all of our friends. No,
that one coming.
We've got Steve Hill from the U-Disc.
What's up? I was just catching up on this riveting content during Todd's interview here. Just going through the dictionary, brushing up on some real important stuff here. It's
I mean,
stay awake too.
U-Disc.
I love your.
In all seriousness, U-Disc is clearly creating and defining and refining words and phrases and terminology within disc golf year in and year out. obviously the invention of things like C1, C2, our scramble rate, all these different things that continue to drive the stats and continue to be closely monitored and then reported upon. All those types of things.
You call it GER?
Is that GER? I'm not sure. Is it like GIF and GIF? Do we like GER and GER?
Look,
how do you say? Do you say GER? I say GER. I'm sorry.
I'm hard G all day. It's GIF. Okay. It's I guess it'd be GER because it's greens regulation, but I've never actually called. No, I was more thinking like GER, like you're.
I don't want to talk any more about your GER. So
I love first of all, two things. One, I love the poster behind you, the old Mario pinball. Second of all, my wife is very mad at you because you pointed me to a pinball auction, and I told her
dangerous
is extremely because she knows for over a decade, I have told my wife, when we get a new house, like she gets the new house, we're in the new house now. I said, after you get the new house, my purchase is the pinball machine. And I have one of two pinball machines that I really, really want from when I was younger. One of is the original Super Mario Brothers pinball. And the other is a Street Fighter 2 pinball machine. And you just recently pointed me to a Super Mario Brothers pinball machine on auction. And I don't know if I can really... I don't know if I can pull that trigger quite yet this year, as we just bought this house like 2 months ago, but she's not happy.
We'll get you there. No, look, I mean,
what's new?
Hey, at least you're aiming for like the lower end of the price spectrum, at least.
I don't need a $15,000 pinball machine, although I would take one if someone were to donate one to the Smashbox Studios, so I could sit and play pinball while Terry does these interviews with the exciting rules discussions.
I might start a pinball stream. I'll have you come on if I start a pinball stream.
Like
that might be my next little fun thing.
You and Dead Flip. There we go. So
that guy's so much better.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, we should talk disc golf probably. Terry's like, what are these guys even talking about?
That's fine.
We had to,
flippers, balls. You guys are into your things.
Shiny balls, hey, I love them.
Terry is on one tonight with trying to get the double entendres in there. Yeah, Todd was just in full rules mode. You were flying things over his head. It was great.
So you also have background working with the PDGA. You've then now taken on your position here with UDisc. So give everyone your title, just as we requested of Todd. What's your title? What's your main role over there at UDisc?
I think my title technically is marketing director, but we kind of do everything we need to get done. A lot of what I've been doing recently is trying to get us to scale up some programs to get some T signs out to courses. Trying to do we do our partnerships with our different manufacturer partners and everything like that for UDisc Live. We just recently teamed up with the Paul Macbeth Foundation to do a matching donation campaign, which got through $10,000 for the Paul Macbeth Foundation, which is amazing. A lot of stuff going on at UDisc, and we've got like the top 10 disc golf states. This is actually why I called Terry. I got to talk to Terry like non-Smashbox form a week and a half ago now.
Yeah, something like that.
Honestly, it was like one of my favorite times I've ever talked to Terry. I got to learn all about Milwaukee disc golf and like the history there, and you guys and your old hippie times in college, and it was great.
Yeah.
The very last thing someone would call us in college is hippies. The very last thing. We were not a fan, or not a fan. The hippies were not a fan of us. Usually.
Oh, so you guys were in that? Were you guys in the more serious disc golf crew? Like you were going over to what was it? You were going to Dretska, right?
Yeah.
Let
me put it this way: Terry, when we were in college, had shorts and a polo with his number and name embroidered in both of them, to look as I'm going to throw some quotes, as professional as possible, and he was one of the few on the course.
Yeah.
If you can't be the best play,
you had to be the best dressed.
You got to look the best.
Yeah.
That was Terry Miller. So a lot of times we ran. We were the counterculture as opposed to
yes.
as opposed to what traditionally was things. So, but things have changed. People love us now.
Yeah.
No. Man, Milwaukee sounds great though. I was super excited to learn all about the scene up there and like just how far it's come and the different like pay-to-play stuff you guys do in the county parks that I wish we did here in Southern California. And yeah, it sounds really great. It's been fun with this whole, like, we rolled out the top 10 cities. We're part of the way through. We're through number 4. And it's always fun to learn more about different scenes that you maybe don't get to be exposed to as much.
And if you can make it here in the next 2 days, Steve, A, I'll golf with you. We'll go somewhere.
Ooh.
And B, you won't cry about how cold it is. But you got 2 days. And then after that, it drops to the 30s.
Yeah, I'll table it until maybe like springtime.
When was the last time?
I appreciate the invite.
When was the last time you saw snow? Like
with my eyes?
Yeah.
No. When was the last time
like
you could physically
person?
make? When's the last time you could physically make a snowball?
It's been a couple years. I mean, we go up to like Big Bear and stuff during the winter, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But I mean, like I've never lived in a place where snow sticks on the ground. I almost moved to Chicago like 8 or 9 years ago, and my wife and I constantly laugh about that because we would have died. We would not have survived.
Steve lives in San Diego, like one of the nicest places weather-wise in the world. As far as
like
constantly
dumped rain today.
72.
It was wild.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, how did you guys survive?
Did you guys does that double your rainfall for the year?
It actually, yeah, it probably did. And it was like the streets were flooding and cats and dogs and yeah, we're not set up for weather around here. It's pretty insane.
All right, so let's talk about, as you just said, we're down to number 4, I believe, was released today for the top 10 cities. This conversation, believe it or not, actually took place on the Dretska Winter Course today, where I actually visited and competed and played, which in itself is out of the ordinary. But the conversation among my buddies was, how did these cities get determined? Like, break it down for someone. Is it sheer app use? Is it reviews that come in? Where do they come in? League use? Tell us how these cities were ultimately put together.
Yeah, for sure. So before I get into like the data component of it, I have to give a shout out to Alex Williamson. He's our main blog editor, and he would actually probably be doing this interview if he didn't live in Germany and it were some middle of the night time or something.
Sure.
But he put in a ton of work to, getting most of these articles going, as well as another one of our writers, Jacob. But basically, this kind of differed. So we first did the top 10 cities list when I didn't even used to work for UDisc back in like 2018. And that was essentially just based on like number and, quality of courses from a certain radius, like a few different set radii from a city center. We actually changed that for this year to be a little more data driven. So basically what we did is our data science team took the US's metropolitan statistical areas, or MSAs, and basically we have a whole article on this on our website, but basically it's essentially an urban area or urbanized area with 50,000 or more people. And that's considered a metropolitan statistical area. And sometimes that will be just one city. Sometimes it will be multiple cities. But this is more like Census Bureau based. So it's a little more, proper than just like saying, here's a city and here's a couple, circles out from it. Because like, for example, let's say we're using San Diego. If you go a radius of 5 miles out, you're in the ocean, right? Mm-hmm. So that necessarily limits some of your ability to have to rank in this system a little bit better if you're doing that. So this actually accounts for more proper geographic areas. Anyway, so we take these MSAs and then we take their weighted course count, which is essentially their courses. I believe it's and I have to read. It's the amount of courses they have. Right. It gets a little tricky because of the weighted component. But then we go with the weighted course count and weighted course density. And basically that's showing, how many courses there are in that geographical area. And then we get, UDisc ratings from people who've played the courses, different reviews. And put it all together, and voila, you get this list. And there's a much more succinct way of reading how we do this on our website that you can probably read and understand better than my ham-handed way of just explaining it. But it's a formula that weights both course density and course quality based on reviews people left on UDisc.
I was gonna say, is this going to change every year, or are we kind of stuck with these courses? Is this something you guys are going to do every year? And we're going to be
the plan.
Milwaukee was 4th last year. Well, what were 7th or 8th or something?
7th this year.
7th, and now we're 8th, or now we're 6th. Is it going to be the same 10-ish courses every year, or are you guys going to kind of do something different every year?
No, I mean, I think the goal is to keep this system in place now so that these MSAs are consistent. But I think what you will end up seeing is you'll get certain cities that maybe have a little more impetus to get more courses in, or, put more emphasis on quality of their courses or getting their ratings up or things like that, to move a little higher in the list. Or in a certain situation, the number 10 city this year, it's Bremerton, Port Orchard up in Washington. It may very well fall off of the top 10 next year and potentially lower because they're going to lose like one of their top courses. So if you have churn of the courses and things like that, it kind of changes the mix. For example, Charlotte this year was number 4. I think last time it was number 3. So, you're going to kind of have some fluctuation, maybe not huge swings. It'll probably be more in that, I would imagine more in like the bottom half, unless some courses or some cities really, really start to pick it up. I know you're thinking like, oh, well, there's Emporia and stuff like that. They have a ton of courses. They're deemed for our system a town, not a city, because of, population and things like that.
Sure.
They were like the number 1 in the best small towns, which that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, so it would be inaccurate for my response today when somebody had said, well, how did Milwaukee get it? I said, well, we just have a lot of people playing here that use the app. That would be an oversimplification and incorrect.
I think, that would be an oversimplification. I mean, it certainly helps, right? Because more people using the app are going to necessarily leave reviews, but at the same time, you're going against other metropolitan areas.
And Josh says we benefited from the lake because that cut out a lot based on the radius and then population, and he put a whole formula out on the chat board. He didn't.
Oh, good. He probably did that way better than I did.
No, he didn't.
So thank
actually.
you, Josh, for bailing me out.
But he would have. If I asked him to nicely, he would put a formula out there. But I'm not going to ask him. But in general, he says we did benefit due to our lake, which Milwaukee benefits a lot from our lake because our lake is awesome. It looks like a mini ocean.
It does sound. I mean, like I've never been to Milwaukee, but after like talking to Terry and writing this article, I would 100% go. Like I don't know why I have never been. There's disc golf and a lake and beer. Like,
have you've been to Chicago, right?
I've been to Chicago.
Imagine Chicago, but nicer. Not quite as cultural. Chicago has a little bit nicer downtown with more stuff to do.
Sure.
But the city itself, I think, is nicer than Chicago. You got some really cool lakefront and all that other cool stuff. But Chicago,
you're definitely not biased either.
Definitely not biased. And better baseball team right now.
Okay, sure.
You can't argue with that.
Better basketball team, 100%.
Way better basketball team. World champions. Just saying. So Chicago's awesome. I love Chicago. I almost moved there when I was right out of college, but decided against it. But in general, Milwaukee, I like Milwaukee as a better city than Chicago, just based on all of our amenities.
Festivals.
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 Oh my God! If you, Steve, what cultural background are you?
I think mostly like Polish or.
All right, we
Czech.
got Polish Fest.
We do.
We have Polish Fest.
Is there Czech Fest?
Probably.
I wouldn't be shocked. We have a fest for everything here at Summerfest.
That's what Terry told me. I know. I've found it, man. There's a bunch of them.
Milwaukee is a phenomenal city. It's a gem. It's a gem. If you can get through the winters.
I was gonna say when the weather allows for being a gem.
All right. So as we're looking at the just like it happened in Milwaukee, the second the article was posted, then I reposted it and it got shared, and a bunch of people shared it and started talking about it. Yeah. But immediately, which I find funny, somebody chimes in with, Yeah. How did they talk about Milwaukee? But my favorite course is such and such. How did that not get highlighted? Yeah. Well, first of all, I guess you could blame me because I didn't bring up such and such course. So
I got a couple courses. I got a couple courses that should have been brought up. I got a couple stores. But look, I love that part of this. Like, that's actually kind of my favorite part of this whole rollout, because you get to see how loyal everyone is to like their city and their scene. And like, we're not trying to hurt feelings. This is data,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
We're not like the staff of UDisc didn't go down a list and say, "Ooh, Milwaukee, number 7, because we like Milwaukee," and Dayton's going to be number 9 because we don't like them as much, and then this city is going to be number 49. Right? It's all based on the data from people who play disc golf, which is rad. And so then we get the emotions and everything, and it makes for fun conversation. And then, if people get a little bit upset at UDisc because their city wasn't in the top 10, then, put more courses in, man.
And that's stop being courses. A town.
Well,
get more population. Stop being a town, people.
There you go. Yeah.
What would you say would be the biggest benefit or byproduct of this list? Big picture, growing the sport, those types of those feels. What would you say could be or should be maybe a big takeaway from something like this list?
I mean, I think a lot of what we've really been trying to do at UDisc since I've been there for the last year plus is we're trying to help provide people with information that can help them get more courses and grow disc golf more in their city. And so having your city be on this list, it's validating, and it can also help you like probably even get more courses. Generally, like if your course or if your city is well known for something, look at your festivals, right? You guys aren't having fewer festivals. You're just going to fill up every weekend on the calendar because it's what you're known for. Look at Emporia. They're known for disc golf, and they didn't stop at being known for like 5 courses. They keep putting them in, right? And so it's the whole same kind of thing. It's to help, validate what you and your community are doing, try and help you get more disc golf. And then, if there's some bragging rights involved with your, fellow city, then so be it. But I mean, that's been one of the really like the rewarding parts of this. And then, we put out this disc golf growth report earlier this year, which I guess it'll be coming out in a couple months again for 2022. And from that, we've been fielding data requests for people who are hoping to get courses in their town, and they'll say, "Hey, how many rounds were played at this course, and this course? I'm trying to get a comparison to take to my city and show them that there's demand here, or that we're too busy at these courses and we need more." We've probably fulfilled more than 200 of those requests trying to help people get new courses over the last like 10 months. If you want information, you can email us hello@udisc.com and we'll get you information, because we want to help you get more disc golf in your town. And so it's the same thing with these city lists. It's just another, arrow in that proverbial quiver for disc golf in your community.
What is, I know what you just said, and people can use that to get more courses. What are some of the other ways that people are using UDisc besides the obvious scoring mechanisms, but using it in terms of either growth or benefiting the greater good of disc golf? Are there other ways that you guys have that maybe were even unintended or just a byproduct of UDisc that have come about?
I mean, I'm sure there probably is, and on the spot, I'm having a hard time thinking about it. But the big thing that we are really trying to do is just give people those resources to help do what they need to do in the sport, whether it's keep score with their friends, or improve their layouts and their course flows and stuff like that. We'll do that with hole scoring data we'll provide to people. We've even provided different metrics to try and help people make like the economic case for things like,
sure,
we're able to tell like how many people who kept score on UDisc came from X number of miles away from your city, to try and show, hey, we're able to bring in some people from out of town to this course and stuff like that. So there's all those kinds of things, and then we're just trying to, help people keep their courses a little more organized and up to speed and stuff like that.
Do you have that statistic of
which one?
The most, I don't want to say traveled to, but I would say the course that has the most people that travel to it from out of state.
Yeah, kind of like the most.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
I know,
I'm sure we could figure it out. Yeah, I mean, it would be
that would be
take
really
some work for our data team, but
because you obviously know where all the your users are based on their home city, and what is the most traveled to course from players that are more than like 60 miles away,
or like the top destination course in that sense.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to know. There you go.
Someone timestamp this for me. And we'll
got Matt and Josh. Out. They're on the board. Your bosses
are on the board.
Out.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Your bosses are out there.
They should be asleep. It's like they're on the East Coast and Central.
Matt's local.
They took a nap during.
Minnesota local.
Took a nap during Todd's interview, and then
Matt's Minnesota
I'm just
local.
Kidding.
Is that where Josh
Todd.
is? Is Josh on the East Coast now?
Yeah, Josh is over in Maine now.
Wow, that's East Coast. Jeez.
It's still only 3 hours though.
One thing that I've seen from running an event or two with the PDGA in the last few events that I've run since the invention of live scoring, at least, at the end of a tournament, I get sometimes an email that says, "Hey, here's some statistical analysis. I'm sure this is just run through some kind of some kind of program, but here's some statistical analysis, and gauging by our brief look at this, it looks like hole 2, 4, and 12 maybe need a redesign or need some help, or you should consider some of this." Clearly, those are some of the things that can be data-driven and pulled out of and analyzed from a UDisc perspective, maybe even with more detail than just the raw numbers. Is that data something that's on a per request basis, that somebody, like you said, reaches out via email and says, "Hey, I'm looking for this"? And then at what point do you guys are like, "Yeah, we could run that number, but that's a lot of work that we're not doing"? Like, where does that line get drawn?
No, that's a great question. We do have some of those by request. I think that basically, with anything that we do, we want to eventually be able to automate it so that it can scale, right? Like you were saying. So in that vein, we've been doing a lot of things this past year that maybe people who are just opening the app and keeping score don't necessarily see behind the scenes. But there's a lot of like under the hood kind of stuff that we've been doing. We've kind of soft rolled out this course ambassador program, where if anyone on the board is a course ambassador, thank you. But essentially we're asking for volunteers who are the people who are generally, your club presidents, your people who run leagues, your people who work at shops, or just your general like volunteer who moves baskets, stuff like that. We're asking them to kind of take their time and invest in this program. And by invest, I don't mean with money. I mean just with their time and their effort to move their layouts and their maps over to this new system that we have. And what this is going to be doing within the next couple months is it's going to allow the app to support courses with multiple pin positions. So like right now, if you have a course with A, B, C pins or whatever, you have to have a bunch of different layouts in the app. It's going to be pretty soon to where, let's say last week, hole 1 was in the A position. Johnny went out and moved it to the B position, but forgot to update it on the back end in UDisc. People in the app who pull up the score or pull up the score will be like, "Oh, well, that's actually in the B position today," and they can move it themselves, which is, it may sound like a small thing, but it's been a big kind of paradigm shift and a functional shift for how we've operated the mapping and layout system. That on top of that is then going to unlock more of that, the whole data and the scoring data like Terry was talking about, because it's going to make it more accurate, right? Especially if all the layouts are correct, if you're not necessarily, keeping score for the wrong pin placement or something like that, we'll be able to give people more accurate data. And then I would imagine, so the course ambassadors, the people who volunteer to kind of maintain the course virtually on UDisc, right now they have access to the different stats, how many rounds have been played, how many unique users have been there in the last month, and then this year. We're going to be adding more stuff to that, to where there's, whole scoring, some of the how many people have traveled from X number of miles, stuff like that. They'll have access to that more readily. But again, it'll eventually be at the point where enough people have access to that to be able, they're the people who need that information. They're the decision makers kind of already for their club and their course. So that's a big goal of that program. Yeah, we want to be able to give people that information like that. It's all about, we're all about trying to get people to make their courses better, and we know we have information that can help them do that. So yes, it's not readily available, but that doesn't mean don't request it. Like, if you're looking for something, hit us up, because we'll help you.
Yeah, and I guess I think about a lot of courses, for instance, in Milwaukee or Dretska, one of our premier courses, that has 3 to 5 pin positions on every hole.
A summer and a winter version.
Yeah, and that just the fact that on any given weekend you're going out there and these pins could be, so there's never really, there's essentially two real layouts, maybe 3. There's all longs, all shorts, and then what maybe somebody would call a classic. Outside of that, there's, umpteen billion other combinations that could take place. Yep. So, having to list each of those as a new course configuration as opposed to just maybe moving or clarify pins, it just gets messy. I can imagine.
It should, and yeah, man, there are some courses out there, like Drutska actually sounds pretty easy compared to some courses. There's some super complex courses out there with just multiple tees, multiple pins, and stuff like that. And so this is a way to make all of that more manageable, and give people access to also do it on the web instead of just on their phone, which is another big functional piece of it. Obviously, most people are using the app and everything, but like, it's really nice to be able to sit down on your full computer with a monitor and a big map and plot out the different spots on your course just a little more easily when you have the time to do that.
Yeah, I love that. The past year to year and a half, UDisc has really made an effort to go with the desktop, to have a desktop option as opposed to just an app option. It's phenomenal, because I know I always laugh because I think about when, we talked about it almost for the very first time was the night of our power outage at my old house. And, our 300th episode, they broke the internet with that. So what can I say? So I'm really happy to see a lot of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, having the course directory online is, you can just sit and scroll around and waste time when you're at work, and shouldn't have a phone in front of you.
None of us.
Not saying that people should do that. No.
Yeah. What? Maybe this is data driven. Well, it could be, I'm sure, and maybe Josh is who's on the board can answer it, or maybe Matt. This is a gut feel from you. UDisc, of course, satisfies, checks a lot of different boxes. To me, I think of the obvious in that you're scoring, but then I think of course mapping, and then I also think of directions to a course. Those, to me, just off the top of my head, as a guy who almost never plays disc golf, those are the 3 biggest uses that I would assume make up UDisc usage. Those are the 3 main. Do you have any idea? First of all, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then second of all, do you have any idea of roughly what those percentages might look like? If I'm right, and those are the 3 main uses, is that 70, 15, 15? Is that 33, 33, 33?
I don't know the breakdown, but obviously, like, keeping score and finding courses are the main 2. And then I don't know if it's necessarily getting to courses or like getting around courses, like if you're at a new course, especially being able to use the app to help you navigate. That's a big one. And then another big one, people love to measure their throws. All the people who post online that say, I broke
big disc measuring
400 feet today. Yeah, exactly.
Big disc measuring contest.
But I don't know the exact breakdown. I'd be curious, actually, if Josh or Matt do, or if they do, would share, because but it's mostly going to be scoring in courses.
In 2 weeks, we'll see.
That's fine. You guys are just you're our idea factory tonight. I really appreciate this.
This is my favorite part. I just come up with either complaints or suggestions, and then like somebody else goes and does the real work for it. That's pretty easy. We could do that all day.
Hey man, someone's got to be the visionary, Harry.
Yeah, I've never been accused of that. Let me tell you. All right, so backtracking for a moment to this top 10 list, and of course, we don't expect you to spoil any of the top 3 that are coming out here. However, my question is: has there been any surprise, like legitimate surprises to you or the staff as this list got put together? Where I'm like, huh? Like, we need to double check that. Has there been any surprises?
In my opinion, one of the next 3 will surprise people.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then I think the Port Orchard one surprised us a little bit just because it's, a little Pacific Northwest town. And, I'm not going to say if there's other Pacific Northwest towns or not in the rest of the list, but I think Port Orchard was a little bit of a surprise, but it's fun. I can't wait till we do. I think sometime next year we're going to do the international version, which will be fun. It won't be off of MSAs. I can't remember what the geographic name of that portion will be, but the international one will be really exciting. I think that's gonna make people pretty pumped too.
Yeah, yeah, clearly you think about the madness that takes place over in Finland. I'll call it madness in a good way, but just everything that's in Finland. What is the use look like international? I mean, we know that there's at least 1 or 2 other scoring.
Metrics was a big one over in Europe.
Yeah, what is the UDisc use? Do you find relatively proportional usage in the U.S. versus or the same, I should say, overseas?
Is it growing?
Oh, it's definitely growing. I mean, the U.S. is still, the largest share just because there's more people, right? But we're definitely, people keeping score on UDisc is definitely going up a lot in, Scandinavian countries, especially Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, everything like that. And it's cool. We've actually just I just sent out an order for, I think, like 700 international T signs. So we have these like T signs. I brought a prop besides the dictionary.
Nice.
We'll send you one of these for free, and people will keep score, scan the QR code, keep score. And that's going to give you better information because you have more people keeping score, hopefully, right? And so we've been sending those out, and we just put an order in for like 700 different internationalized ones. We translated them to, I think, 9 different languages or something like that. So that's really exciting just to see the growth over in Europe and honestly though everywhere. Like I'm really excited for us to put out. I don't want to spoil it because it's not until probably February when we do the another growth report. But like we saw the massive growth in 2020. Like obviously we didn't have that same number, that same percentage jump. But man, like disc golf's still doing the thing right now. Like it's I think a lot of people were like, oh gosh, people are starting to go back to the normal thing. Are people as excited about it? I listened to another podcast earlier this year and they're like, man, it just feels like the enthusiasm's down. No way, man. The enthusiasm's there. People are playing in like droves still. It's amazing.
And I'll be curious to see the growth of UDisc specifically over in Europe, because I feel like one of the factors in the growth of UDisc here in the U.S. was joining up with the Pro Tour early on. Steve Dodge and Matt and Josh and all of us kind of,
yep.
Lots of stories there. And now that the Pro Tour, the European Pro Tour is going on, I'm fairly certain that they're using UDisc as a back end based on the graphics and such that I have seen.
Yep.
Not too surprising, but whether or not that spurs a bigger usage over in Europe, kind of like it kickstarted a usage here in the U.S. Because if their live broadcast, like the Disc Golf Pro Tour had here, goes off as well as we hope it does in Europe, I could see that being a very big growth aspect for UDisc in Europe.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think it's been impactful so far. We worked with the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour over in Finland this year. We've done other events. Matt and Josh went over to like the Remax Open or maybe it was just Josh went over. I want to say it was like 2018. So we've been trying to, pick our spots in Europe for a little while. The Toonie is one that we've worked with for a while as well. And so those things have just been kind of continuing to grow. So we're going to be working with the European Pro Tour this year. The plan, I think, at the moment is to work with also the PDGA Euro Tour because they're still going, everything like that. So, I mean, we're just happy to be able to, help provide a cool system for people to keep track of and kind of bring all the players from, international and domestic together in like one place for your scores and your stats and stuff. And yeah, it does. I'm sure it certainly helps. I'm not going to lie that it helps from a marketing perspective. It 100% does. But we genuinely just want to continue to see the sport exploding there like it has been, because there's just so much opportunity and potential everywhere over there, really.
With regard to the Pro Tour, at least here stateside, is there anything that is in the works or that's been announced or enhancements, features, things that people should be
Smashbox exclusive?
Yeah, anything that we should be looking forward to here in the 2022 versions?
I'm not even lying to you. No, I don't know yet. We've been like the past couple months, we've been so focused on like growing UDisc and growing the team. We just went through a huge hiring round. I think we had 1,400 applications for like 15 positions or something like that. It was insane. It was incredible. We hired 6 people, maybe 7. We're going to be up to, a team of 20 people now. So that's been our big focus recently. Not that we're obviously not focusing on things like the Pro Tour and what we want to do, in the season moving forward. But we haven't figured out quite yet what the next kind of step is there. Last year we did strokes gained and things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we have a strokes gained in our pocket this year or not, but I don't know. Our data science team is really good, so it wouldn't surprise me if we did.
Forgive me because I haven't used UDisc in like 2 months, but
it's all good, man. You live in Milwaukee. You can use that as an excuse.
Now that has nothing to do with it because the weather here has been good. It's been life. Life has wrecked me and the Pro Tour. Can I friend somebody on UDisc yet? Like, say
nobody wants to friend
Terry
you, Johnny.
Requests
you
me
are fine for many years to
Terry
come.
requests me as a friend. He's like begging me, like, "Hey,
never.
Like, I'd really love to see when Johnny plays. Can we do that yet?"
Very soon. Very soon.
Okay, I know that has been like the I don't want to say the number one request, but one of the big requests for like the last.
It's been one of them. Oh yeah.
For like the last few years, that people want to be able to see when someone goes out to play.
We're actually, I will give you the Smashbox exclusive. Okay, it's actually we're rebranding to Meta in the new year.
Oh, nice.
And we're just going full augmented reality disc golf.
Well, my kids don't watch this, so I can tell that I can say out loud here that I've gotten them one of the Oculus Rifts for Christmas, so I'm assuming I can do
for them
in VR.
Yes.
All right, because I want to wear my.
I think
VR.
you can. Well, I mean, you kind of can because you can. Did Disc Golf Valley ever come out with VR?
They did, yeah. I believe I want to. I do want to play it and try it out when it come after Christmas when they open up the gift, but because it's a gift for the kids, I'm going to throw that in quotes.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly, I need to be able to score in 3D though. So I want to be able to throw my disc, walk up to the next tee, put my 3D VR goggles on, and ask people, "What'd you get?" Okay, 3, and I want to be able to do it in VR. So not my watch. I know like a lot of people are talking watch stuff.
Yeah.
That's old. I want to be able to score in VR.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
Score UDisc.
I was going to say, I felt like in college, the only way you were going to score was in virtual reality.
I knew it was coming. I had to preface it. I did. I knew
that was good. That was good.
I knew that was going to happen.
I never had a doubt.
I wish I could because we're not terribly far apart in age. Like I would love to go back
Shut
in
up,
time
young man.
have a beer with you guys in college. It's been good.
You're what? You're 38?
Dude, I'm about to be master's age in April.
All right, so you're almost 40? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you aren't too far off our pace then. And what's your PDJ number? How did you get introduced to the game?
Billion. PDJ number billion. No, I'm actually like a 6-digit person because I never joined when I started playing. I've never been like a big tournament player. So I was like local club member. I've been playing for 10 and a half years now. But I got into like blogging and more fun recreational stuff and then covering the pros and stuff, but I never was a super tournament player. I'll play an ice bowl here and there, like charity stuff, low key, because I don't need that kind of stress in my life, man. I'm not gonna beat anybody. I just want to go out and play and have a good time. So that's usually more my speed for disc golf. But I love that people can be competitive about it. That's like the best thing about this sport. You can pick whichever path you want to go on, you know?
More now than ever.
I'm gonna throw another thing I'm going to throw out there for you guys. I'm sure you don't know this offhand. Who, and we're 15 days away from the end of the year, 17 days? What individual person scored the most amount of rounds on UDisc this year?
Oh, I don't know, but I know last year the number was like something ridiculous, like over 1,000 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, Tom McManus.
Let me look. It's in our report.
Yeah.
Last year.
I just want like one. I want an interview with the one person. Like, dude, you scored like 1,300 rounds on UDisc. Like, you ever think about
what were you doing this year?
Yeah, like you have a job? You need a job?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, they'll probably try and maybe they applied for one of our jobs. I'm not sure.
Maybe. What is UDisc looking for? Are you guys still looking for positions? I know it's been a while now.
I think we're always looking for developers, right? At heart, we're a software company. So if you are a web developer or a mobile developer and you want to, merge your hobby into your job and your passion, like a lot of us have been able to do, you can go to udis.com/jobs. We have like perpetual. I think we're leaving those ones open kind of perpetually because it's always good to just kind of keep the door open for the bread and butter kind of positions that are going to help us continue to grow.
I feel as if a few people had the same reaction I did, and even listening at home days or weeks later when you just said that the staff is grown to about roughly 20 people. What clarify on that a little or expand on that just a little bit? Is that 20 full-time people? Is that 6 full-timers, 3 part-time writers, and then hype man Dan? Like what? How does
that doesn't even count Dan?
I know.
Count Dan.
So I know this is being a little bit like nitpicky, but is that how many full-time people are working at UDisc? Do you know?
Yeah, that is full-time people. The 20 is full-time. We do have like contractors we work with. We have, interns, and everything, like paid interns, by the way. We're not messing around, and everything like that. But no, we are legitimately up to 20 people. It's not just Matt and Josh anymore. I was the incredible part, and people, I think, like, we're not like super flashy about, like, we don't make big announcements anytime we hire anybody or anything like that. So maybe that's why people don't know. It's also because we all work remotely. Like, we don't have a big old presence like we're out at events. We work pretty lean still, and then we'll send like a rep like Dan or myself or someone, 1 or 2 people to a tournament, but again, not really a whole need for the whole big team to go. But just for some perspective, when I moved over to UDisc last August, so August of 2020, I was the 5th hire.
Okay.
And now by January 10th, we'll be up to, I think it's 20. I apologize to my bosses in the chat if I lost count, but it's pretty close to 20. It may be over that. So this we had a pretty ambitious run, this run of hiring, and it went very well. And we're super excited. It's just going to give us more opportunity to keep, putting more stuff in the app and putting more stuff online, and just helping people have a good experience when they're playing disc golf. That's really at the end of the day what we want to do.
How many, and then I'll steal a question right off the board, how many of them are disc golfers out of 20 people, even if it's the most recreational of play, how many disc golf or how many don't disc golf at all?
We all play.
All
I mean,
20.
I don't play as much anymore. I'm always
Sure.
hurt. But no, we are all disc golfers. Yeah.
Okay, all 20 have some background or experience playing, or wow, that's awesome.
Yep. Whether it's like casual people who have just started since COVID, or people who've been playing for years, and it's cool. Like, we're across the board. We've got some people who, play leagues every single week, and like it'll be Tuesday and they'll run out for their league round and then come back and get their work done later. Or, we've got people who play tournaments on the weekends, or we've just got people who are more casual about it, like I am, who just love the sport, maybe aren't as hardcore competitive or whatever, but are still going to get out and play. So we kind of run the gamut of, amount of rounds played. But yeah, we're all disc golfers. We're all sitting and nerding out about disc golf.
I have to then follow this up with, who's the highest rated player on the team?
Who's the highest UDisc employee?
Yeah.
I think it's one of our data scientists. I think it's Duca Bursma. Who didn't he come on for World Rankings? Which show did Duca come on?
He
Duca
did not. He wasn't with us.
It was not this one.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Some other local podcast you probably did.
Yeah.
There's too many disc golf podcasts. There's too many. That's my hot take. There's too many of them.
More than one.
Oh, he went on one of the foundation ones, and they have like 70 podcasts, so I can't keep track.
Yeah, okay.
I think he went bowling with them or something. I don't know what they do these days.
Do they have a bowling podcast?
I'm sure they do. They've got a podcast on everything.
It'd be great. I would actually probably watch that. Like, disc golfers going bowling and talking smack to each other. That'd be fun. No, but I think he's the highest rated.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that's
okay.
That's
it was just kind of I'm not going to go research it. It was just kind of a curious to know who that might be. Leagues, is UDisc a solution for someone that's trying to run a league, whether that's a putting league or a quote unquote traditional league? Is there anything in the works or anything that people are still yearning for, or any shortcomings to, if somebody said, hey, I want to run a league, but UDisc is trying to do X, Y, and Z yet? Is there anything?
You're trying to tell me that there's shortcomings to UDisc, Terry?
I'm asking you. What is your biggest weakness?
No, I'm just kidding. No, you know what? I will say one of the things.
So are you doing a SWOT analysis?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So,
we all know it.
Yeah. No. I think one of the things that people have asked for. There's a couple things that people have asked for, and that we're always kind of working on. Bag tags, like easier bag tag management would be a big one for leagues. Apparently, Johnny's not a big fan.
No, I was honestly kind of shocked at that. I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought about UDisc for bag tags, but I suppose it makes total sense. I don't know,
easier way to track it. People want bag tags, people want handicaps, people want like different formats, right? Like, people want to be able to have match play tournaments or skins or things like that.
Wolf.
So
get Wolf on there.
We've got the roadmap a mile long of things that we want to do, and we're always going to try and just keep chipping away and adding features, and because we want to make it, we want to be the place that people go and can be able to just stay there and get it done, right? Like, if you can already keep score and find your courses, let's make it so you can keep score for your league and just have it all kind of be your one-stop shop.
What do you say to anyone that asks about the live scoring that's available on PDGA, and that most PDGA tournaments are using, or at least it's eligible to use, as opposed to if somebody says, hey, I'm running a PDGA tournament, but I'd still really rather use UDisc. Where do the, where does, I don't want to say where's the line get drawn? where is there a wall or not, and is there anything to, I don't know, integrate or cross integrate, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, if people want to use UDisc to keep score for their PDGA events, we're happy to help people do that 100%. We're not like going to actively go after, people who are using PDGA live scoring, because it's very good, and it's a member benefit, and we want people to be happy to use that. We also want to be an option for people, so if people want to use UDisc, we'll help make that happen too. And then the really awesome thing is there are a bajillion unsanctioned tournaments and leagues, and we can help people keep score on those. So that's the beauty of it is there's plenty of competitive scoring opportunities for people to go around. Honestly, like I think we scored like there. I don't know. My search for it isn't working right now, but there were like 20,000 or 30,000 different leagues or something on using UDisc this summer.
Wow.
I mean, it's free. Why not use it, right? It's free. So we're happy to help people do what they need to do if it's a PDGA tournament. And, I think there's still like, we're still good with PDGA and everything, and there's still room. I think, like, I didn't pay attention to all of Todd's talk about the formats that you can use, because I know there was maybe like a slight change to the, like, which forms of scorekeeping you can use or something for a tournament. But
we didn't cover any of those specifically.
Okay.
But Christy had asked, can UDisc be used as the official score at PDGA events? And I don't know if there's a provision that says it can't be.
Yeah, I don't think there's something that says that it can't. I think that obviously the PDGA would rather you use, PDGA digital scoring, which is fine.
Sure.
But I think you can. It's like if the TD says the official is paper, it's paper. If the TD says the official is UDisc, it's UDisc. So I'm like 99% sure it can be up to the TD's discretion.
Now, TDs, don't get confused. Like, you're going to have like the live scoring, like the DGPT stuff when you do that. That is not.
You do. I mean, it's not on udisclive.com, but it's. But there's 100% live scoring for leagues and events. Yeah, it's just it's on its own different URL, but you can still share it out on social media. Yeah, you're not going to get you're not going to go to udisclive.com and get your recent league, but I mean it's in the events tab in the app, and there's tons of people going there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So some people have, I'll say, criticized and or been frustrated with the fact that the PDGA and UDisc are not a seamless partnership this year in terms of getting your UDisc Pro membership as being part of a PDGA member. Is there anything that to either someone that's either misunderstanding that or understands it but is still mad, or whatever the case may be, is there any official phrasing or line that comes from UDisc with regard to that partnership not being part of the 2022 membership?
I mean, no. I mean, we talked about it with them, and it was a great partnership for a couple of years, and we still work with the PDGA on scoring different events and everything. Like we fully plan on having UDisc live for the majors and all the DGPTs and everything like that. As far as the benefit component, they let us know they kind of wanted to go in a different direction this year with what was offered in their benefits package. And so that's where we're at. And, it's fine. Our hope is that people will still have gotten enough out of their time having UDisc included with their PDGA membership that they will still see enough value to stick with it, keeping all your stats history and all your courses played and everything like that on. I mean, look, if we're being realistic, the main thing that you need UDisc Pro for is if you keep more than 10 scorecards. Almost everything else in the app is free. So like if you want to keep a course wish list, that's free. If you want to find courses or stores or leagues, that's free. The only thing it costs money to do with a UDisc Pro upgrade is to keep more than 10 scorecards. Dirty little secret. Even if you want to keep the free version of the app, delete your last scorecard and stay under 10. You won't keep all your stats, but like if that doesn't matter to you, that's fine. Happy to have you do that. The people who want their full stats history, which is probably PDGA members and stuff, hopefully they will see the value in coming over, and it's like $1.25 a month at the end of the day. So
I don't know.
No,
I
see,
mean, that's almost $1 per person that could be given to of all your staff members throughout the year. That's a bit much for me. I don't know if I want to.
It's almost the cost of the disc. Like and you're never gonna lose it in the water because hopefully you don't throw your phone in the water.
Well, I mean, if I were UDisc, I would be sending people to the wrong place until they paid me. Like, oh, you want to go to Dretska? Oh, I'm sorry, you ended up at Valley View. That's weird.
But the UDisc Pro memberp would get you
could have
there.
got you to Dretska.
Man, you guys are coming after my job right now. That's how you get the extra revenue.
I mean, we drove you out of podcasting. We can drive you out of UDisc.
Yeah, man. No, I love it. This is great.
You just open up the app when you're at the wrong course. You like that, a-hole? Yeah, pay for it. You like that now?
It's a picture of you and I? Come on.
That would
we'll
be
see.
awesome.
We'll see
Those are
what
the
we can
Easter
do
eggs.
for. We'll see if we can work something like that in. Maybe we'll do that for April Fools this year.
And by the way, if you want to come to Milwaukee in July, we have Croatian Fest. That's as close as we can get you. Sorry. So
What would there be at Croatia? Is it like
I don't know.
different food? Like what do they eat in Croatia? I don't know.
Terry, you were in Croatia.
I don't know. Yeah, they have all sorts of crazy stuff. I don't know. Whatever was put in front of me, I had. It was good.
That's also they're also gonna have Festa Italiana, German Days, German Fest.
There we go.
We get.
I saw Taco Fest in
Bastille
August.
Days.
I'm in August. Taco Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Dragon Boat Festival.
Yeah, we've got a very large Hispanic community here in Milwaukee that has some phenomenal
You know what I would actually love to
restaurants.
come do? I would love to come and come to a festival for part of the weekend and play some disc golf. I actually would love to come and watch you guys run the broadcast. I want to see how chaotic it's gotten because I've seen you do it at DDO when things were still
small,
a little
basic.
Lower key.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'd be fascinated to come and see what kind of chaos is going on.
Well, I'm trying to get everybody to do it remotely. To be honest,
Yeah.
I swear to today.
You don't want everyone coming to your basement all weekend?
No, thankfully we haven't come to the basement in like a year and a half.
No, I know.
But in general, I've been working on doing a lot of things up in the cloud and trying to make it so Mo doesn't have to travel from Rhode Island every whenever, and so our alternate director can do that stuff from Portland and not have to come to Milwaukee. So it'll be a little bit quieter in the broadcast room or louder as we're all yelling at each other over comms. So it would be fun.
That's true. Yeah. Are you does that mean more broadcasting remotely too? When are we going to get the on-site booth? I need the on-site booth this year.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very difficult move because it depends on the location.
Courses, I know.
And there's like three locations that can really pull that off well a year, but
we just need more internets.
We need
more interneting is always what we need.
I just want to be able to direct remotely, so I can go to GBO, direct during the day, and then go out at night and go to church.
Yeah,
that's my goal.
Is that what they have at the Bourbon Cowboy now?
I think there's a drink called.
I believe there's some holy
church
water.
Visit.
I think there's some holy water there.
Right after you're done riding the bull.
Hey, you get to go there twice this year too, so there you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
So.
What's the rumor? Do you guys have any Smashbox exclusives for me? What are the juicy? I'm not tied into the media stuff as much anymore, so I need my
yeah.
fix.
I know. I used to message you or call you if I needed info or had info to share, and now I don't need to do that anymore. I'm
just hanging out, man.
Well, we'll tie a few things together and ask. Maybe and we don't, but relating to one of your previous gigs is if we're going to see a reboot of the PDGA radio in some capacity or PDGA podcast in any capacity. There was a rumor floating around that we may see something of that nature pop back up. That would have maybe been a question for Todd. I don't know. We'll get your hot take on that.
I heard Todd's gonna host.
Yeah, there you go. So the hot take on that is: do you? It does feed into what you said earlier about if there's too many podcasts or not. But do you feel like the PDGA should be hosting some form of podcast, weekly podcast? Is there space for it?
I mean, I don't know.
And if so, what's the format?
I mean, clearly this, where we can sit. I mean, look, it's hard, right? There's a lot of the sit and chop it up for a couple hours and interview people formats. Like there's less of the like story driven produced kind of stuff, which that's the kind that I would personally love to do if and when I get back into doing a podcast. It'll be something like that.
Okay,
that takes a lot more like production work. Should the PDGA have something? I don't know. I think maybe there were times where, to be honest, like, it was the off season and there wasn't as much to talk about, or, there was always the other part of it where it's like, how much should the PDGA be talking about the pros and things like that? So it could go either way. I think it's good for the PDGA to have a media presence of some kind, but I don't know if like a weekly discussion podcast like is the mission. I don't know. But I did hear they were trying to bring something back a while ago, which is good. It's good to have a marketing type presence, I think, for them.
Well, until they bring something back, Smashbox is the official podcast of the PDGA.
All PDGA members, it's free with your membership.
Yeah, it's free with your membership. We've claimed this, and hence it to be true.
That works, man. You should tell them that and see what happens. Is it on the benefits page?
Until the lawyers show up, I consider that to be true.
What are we going to see for? Maybe put it out there for the world. When disc scoring takes place for our Elite Series events, break down for some of our newer viewers what that typically means, who's corralling or heading up that effort, and what does somebody need to do if they want to be part of it?
Yeah, it kind of depends. So it'll probably be a little more streamlined now that the DGPT and the NT have merged.
Mm-hmm.
For NTs, it was sometimes a PDGA person or sometimes a tournament person, something like that. DGPTs, a lot of the volunteering runs through them, which is great. Like Seth Finley and the logistics guys there totally crush it. We do have a form on UDisc Live where it's like, hey, you want to keep score for the pros, click here, and you can fill that out, and we'll forward that along to whatever tournament it is. And then it's kind of a, I will say, like, the DGPT operations and logistics people, at least as far as acquiring volunteers and stuff, do a really great job. And then we've got our developers and our team, like, Matt, especially if he's still in the chat. Like, I don't think Matt took a weekend off this last year. And there were times where we were doing, a European event and a US event. So he'd be waking up at like 2 a.m. to make sure the European event got going well, and then taking a nap. And then like it would, be up the next day to do stuff. So on that side, like holding down the back end, our whole team is doing that work remotely. And then like I went out to Pro Worlds, with Dan. We were recruiting some people. That'll kind of happen at some of the majors. And then, it runs through the different tours and events otherwise. So if people are interested, the best way I would suggest is to, fill out the form on udislive.com or just contact your local TD. They will generally have, the main thing. But it's really interesting too. Like the landscape of that is kind of starting to change. It used to be where, people would, we'd be scrambling for volunteers, and now we've got people who are trying to volunteer so they don't have to pay to get into the tournament, right? So there's some growing pains with that we've got to figure out, which is kind of fun. Like it's a good problem to have that like the TDs can make money on admission now, and so then there's people trying to somehow skirt the rules by doing it through UDISC scoring. We put the kibosh on that, so we it's a good thing, I think, on the whole, that to be going through all these different kinds of evolutionary phases together, you know.
Yeah, well, we're in such a different place than we were 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's all
crazy.
of it's just been absolutely astonishing and crazy with where we're at. So awesome. Well, Steve, I don't know if there's anything else that you open floor. If there's anything else you need to share with us or tell us about, or ask us, or
list. I had a.
You got a hit list there?
Oh yeah. So
bullet points?
So in the next week. I know something that people really enjoyed last year was the UDisc replay, which was like our version of the Spotify Wrapped, where you got your full stats for the year and a nice little, a couple stories in the app and stuff like that about your year on the course. That will be coming within the next week for people who are hopefully excited and keeping score on UDisc. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then, we're just excited about 2022. Like, we're going to be teaming up with Uplay on some stuff because Zoe and Dustin are amazing. There's a lot of good stuff ahead, and it should be another good year. I think the sport is just I can't really like fathom still where it's been, heading, and like it's all just getting so big and exciting. It's a good time. So.
And we've got someone on the board asking, when does the UDisc store reopen? When can I get my UDisc merch?
Man. I know, right? This hat and some other things.
I need some UDisc boxers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, for that disc measuring contest.
Oh my goodness, Terry, that's like 4 of them tonight, man. That's impressive.
I'll set you up for that one, by the way.
That was a good one. I don't know yet on the merch, TBD. Hopefully sometime next year. Oh, the one last thing, circling back to what we talked about earlier. If you're trying to get a new course, send us a message, hello@udisc.com. We will get you the information and point you toward some other resources and do our best. And that's the big thing. More courses for everybody. And same thing. You can get a sign to hang at your course, and everybody's happy. Everybody wins. So
awesome.
It's gonna be good. Thank you, and number 1 city Friday. I will not tell you who it is. Sorry. If you guess,
gonna go start making
I
up
still
names.
won't tell you.
I'm just gonna go start making up places. I'm gonna promote it as if I already knew. Like, we got the exclusive.
San Diego. How weird.
Man, you know what? And I don't know if my buddy Alan is on the board.
Oh, he is.
He's okay because I see a message coming in from Facebook. Alan has, like, big shout out to Alan for all he has done around here for disc golf. Like, we're very fortunate. At the same time, we have so many dang people that, like, we need more courses. Like, I don't think we could get the course density thing going because it's just such a big area and so many people, but we got it okay around here.
Well, and that's one of the problems with some place like San Diego or a lot of major cities is that it's difficult to get courses in urban areas or you just especially San Diego, which is probably very expensive for any sort of open land that they're not going to throw up. They're not going to throw up condos there for something. So,
and we have like coastal restrictions with like Surfrider Foundation and all kinds of things like that. It's, there's challenges, but I think, we got it pretty good. We got Morley, we got Kit Carson, we've got a whole bunch. We got Goat Hill that I never play because it hurts me, and we do all right. We could always use more, but we do okay.
All right. Well, spoiler alert: number 1 city area, Minneapolis,
San Diego,
St. Paul. That's what I'm calling. All right, Steve, we appreciate the insights.
I want to hear Johnny's prediction then.
What's your guess,
Terry's
Johnny?
saying Minneapolis. What's Johnny's? It could be the same, I guess, if you want to be.
I mean, I like that guess, but I'm going to go biased and say something like, I'm going to go in Illinois, a Chicago suburb. I'm going Chicago suburb.
Okay. All right.
I'm guessing it's not going to be Chicago.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of like Evanston or something crazy.
Or Des Moines in Iowa.
No, not Des Moines.
I could see that being in the top 3.
I'm going to go with Chicago.
See, now
suburb.
you're spinning your wheels of all the places. This is what we do. This is good.
Chicago suburb.
No. All right, Steve, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Steve.
Happy holidays.
I'm going to beat you at pinball next time we see each other. Bye.
You got the last word. You win.
I win. It's my podcast. I get the last word.
That's how it works. All right. Well, of course, thank you to Steve. Also, UDisc Matt, UDisc Josh out on the board, chiming in, correcting everything that Steve didn't know what he's talking about. So we always appreciate that as well. Josh does tell us Morley and Kit Carson both in the top 10 most played in the U.S. Okay. We'll go with that. Mike Harrington out there on the board. Hey, Mike, says Minneapolis and Dallas are two of his guesses. I can get on board with those.
I could see both of those.
So I guess we'll see what happens. All right. Real quickly, we can touch on any other news before we wrap this up and head into an after show. Johnny, you said some new things were approved by the PDGA. Certainly, they approved our podcast as number one
podcast for the PDGA members on Tuesday after 9:00. Right yes. Here, you can only find it live or on podcast, your local podcatcher app. Yes, if you look, yesterday was a big day for the PDGA approving stuff. A ton of discs from Yikun, a bunch of them from Yikun, the Zheng, the Yi, the Rong, the Long, the Ling, the Kang, the Bi, the Bai, Bi, not exactly sure how it's pronounced. Wild discs going with the fishing aspect. They got the Angler, the Great White, the Sea Otter, Goliath discs with the Jira, Castoplast with the Yarn. A new target was approved, the Lit Maleta, which looks like a lot of other targets, so I'm sure it's a great target, but it looks just like every other target I've seen. So congratulations to everyone who gotten stuff approved. I love seeing the huge long list of discs that are approved and different manufacturers that I've never heard of, because it means our sport is growing.
Certainly does. Look forward to those hitting your shelves whenever they can actually produce them. As one of our biggest problems. Right. Anything else that was of PDGA or other major news? I'll quickly chime in with, I see, of course, Simon Lizotte continuing his Vlogmas. I think I also saw maybe Connor O'Reilly, I think, working on a Vlogmas concept. I can't say I've been consuming any of them, so I'm not showing any bias one way or another, but I believe I saw him say something about Vlogmas number 7 or 8 or something, so that gives me some idea that he's continuing. This was a few days ago. Continuing to see him. Yeah. I mean, he's putting stuff out, I guess, is what I would say there. In a self-promoting way, I will mention that we also just saw the event taking place, the Monster Mash, the Majet Monster Mash, that was down in Bay County in the Panama City area. Just released the footage for that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You got to watch the likes of Matty-O along with a couple of other super solid players down there. Big shout out. Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, part of that production along with my buddy Dustin and Bay County. Super glad to work with you guys. Thank you so much. As that footage is all unfolded and become available as well. And I've got more in the works as we speak, and I'll continue to release a ton of it over the next couple months.
And as we know, getting the Smashbox bump from last week was Thomas Gilbert. He did take down the SFO that we talked about over Greg Barsby. It was a playoff. So playoffs. Yes, everyone knew it was coming. It was a playoff between him and Greg, but Thomas came out on top. And in the open women, Ellen Wid to the boom, knocking it out of the park in a playoff as well over Raven Klein. So congratulations to Ellen. That was in South Florida. Then we, I thought there was another A tier. I think maybe not. All right, never mind then.
I don't think any other.
Nope. Oh, I was looking at
pro A tiers.
Yes. So.
Okay. Did Elaine win and Schwebby didn't, or did I
don't know? Don't care.
Huh. Either way.
I can't keep track of all their wins.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
I don't got time for that.
That's a whole nother podcast. There should be a podcast just dedicated to all their wins.
Well, they should start a podcast together.
That's
just going over their wins. Hey, remember in '88 when I won?
I also saw, again, events that I think I'm going to be involved with. Looking at the Shelley Sharp registration went live last night. I'm pretty sure that very quickly sold out, along with Maricopa is looking to be provided here soon. So a couple events I'm looking forward to having part of. Also here in the Milwaukee area, and I definitely want to share it, that the MIDI crew has now put out back-to-back weeks of having the weekly Sunday weekly putting league that takes place down at the Broken Bat in downtown Milwaukee, and that's going to go on for another, I want to say, 6-ish weeks.
This was week 2. There's going to be 6 weeks. I talked to the gentleman. I was going to talk about this in the after show, but we'll go on and do it now real quick. They're going to skip the week after Christmas, that Tuesday after Christmas, but other than that, it should be a lot of fun. And shout out to those guys who, put on a phenomenal league. It's a great space. It's like an indoor, I don't know if it's wiffle ball that's played in there at the Broken Bat. But actually, did great. Gave me a nice pullover, which was very cool.
Grasshopper. Is that a sweatshirt?
It is not a sweatshirt.
Are you sure?
Well, according to...
I mean, it pulls over. It doesn't have a zip up. It's a quarter zip.
It's a quarter
but
zip.
It's not a...
It has a pouch in it for my
It's not
putter.
a zipper the entire way, and it has a hood.
Well, based on the definition you read earlier, it has to be a heavy... And this is definitely not heavy because I would happily play with it in disc golf. Just like my zip-up hoodie upstairs is not heavy, so I wouldn't consider that a sweatshirt. So suck it, Miller. And close the show.
Wore it today. I mean, it's hoodie-like. All right, guys. We are going to call it for the regular show. Yes, Chris, you had mentioned as well. Tristan Tanner won his... Is that his first MPO tournament? That sounds crazy. I thought I saw that he won. I didn't think that was his first ever. That would be crazy. He's too good for that. For Johnny V and myself, we got to thank Steve Hill from over there at UDisc. Appreciate all the insights. And then also Todd Line from the PDGA. Super great. Anytime we can get information from either of those entities, you guys are always welcome here on Smashbox to get our viewers and listeners all caught up. Stick around. We're going to have an after show for you guys. We'll talk about some other random things that are taking place in the sport of disc golf. Looking forward to even a live rewatch with Kristen Tatar. We'll talk more about that in the after show. We'll see you soon when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 381 After Show.
I asked the chat what we should talk about during the after show, and someone said, politics and religion is always a good choice.
Only after I get done breaking down some COVID conversation for you guys.
It kind of falls into politics these days, unfortunately. If you enjoy what we're doing here, you can support us at patreon.com/smashboxtv. And maybe if you do that and send us an email, we'll talk about something you want us to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to help support the show, we'll talk about what you want to talk about. I'm good with that. Just throw me a subject if you're a Patreon supporter.
Yeah, would you also say we are now officially the
best podcast? Yeah.
The podcast, the official podcast of the UDisc application?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I think that, because I want to get on that payroll. I mean, they're putting everybody on payroll over there.
Jeez, they just got money to throw around, apparently.
I ain't paying them my $15.
They'll just withhold your first check.
What's that?
They'll withhold your first check.
All right. I say that. We see Matt Kruger out there on the board. He says, I only came here for the after show. So
that makes sense.
You're going to regret that, Matt. I can promise you that.
I hope your garden went well, Matt. I know you, with the new house that you've been getting into a little bit of gardening, I hope you got some very large vegetables.
Yes. I'd like to see your big vegetables. Big time.
Show me your eggplant.
Mm-hmm. On that note, you would be so incredibly proud. I will share this with you. Last night, all on my own.
Oh, jeez.
I successfully remoted into a different PC on the other side of Milwaukee, all the way across town.
What?
I remoted into another PC and was able to help with some editing. That was editing for footage that ultimately is going to be released on my channel.
What did you use to log into it?
I used, let's play a little game. You take a guess.
Okay. I'm going to go with TeamViewer.
Why would you go with TeamViewer?
Because it's probably the easiest and most obvious one that most people use for personal use is TeamViewer.
Now, Windows 11 lets you remote.
Or Chrome remote.
Chrome remote, yeah.
Chrome remote could have been a good option, too.
Windows 11, which was...
see? Eric on the board says TeamViewer as well.
Ooh.
No, I know.
Windows 11, I went to go to the remote feature, and it said, hey, your version of Windows 11 Home doesn't let you do this for free. You got to pay $99 upgrade.
To Windows 11 Pro, probably.
Maybe. I said, well, I ain't got $99. I don't make that UDisc money. I'm out. And
I had $99, but I gave it to UDisc.
And so from that point, I went out and Googled around, and sure enough,
for at least 7 years worth of UDisc.
Google tells you, hey, there's 10 different options. They give you your top 10. They don't list them in order of being free or not. And sure enough, you guessed it, TeamViewer. TeamViewer was the winner because it was free.
Boom! It is. It's free for personal use, not free for enterprise use, as most subjects are. But even most enterprises will just say, yeah, we're using a personal. I mean, awkward when you need to do a one-off. But otherwise, Chrome remote works very well as well.
Yeah, but are there not limitations in terms of that machine
has to have Chrome on it,
and you have to be logged in under your Chrome account there too?
No.
That's what Gio told me today.
No, Did
you misinform Gio?
No, Gio was misinformed. You can set it up so if you're logged in remotely on the other PC, then you can just easily log into it automatically. But if somebody else is logged in, then they can give you a code so that you can remote into that PC. But no, that's not exactly how it goes. So,
okay. Well, at any rate, so far, TeamViewer has. I used it once. I didn't even have to call you. I got it all figured out on my own. And I said the one thing I did say about it is the only time I've had remote PC usage has been you remoting into my PC to fix something. So the fact that I was on the other end of it, remoting in, that's what my IT degree will get me.
Parsec
20 years later.
Parsec is really good if you want
that's
a very,
Gio
a very
also said.
Quick one.
Why is that better or worse than TeamViewer? Sell me on this free service.
Well, TeamViewer is good for your basic stuff. The refresh rate on the screen isn't going to be as good as some of the newer ones like Parsec or Teradici is what I'm working with right now, so that you have it's one word, by the way. So if you're going to be viewing something like a video or anything, like TeamViewer is decent, but Parsec and Teradici are much more like you're sitting right in front of the system as opposed to having that little bit of lag.
And Parsec, is that free?
Parsec is free. You get a single monitor view. If you want to pay for multiple monitors, then you can do that. And I'm actually working with not working with them directly, but using Teradici to practice and test some things for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so that, like I told Steve, we can kind of start doing some of this stuff remotely.
Okay.
This is Gary Greason says this is a lit after show.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to talk about some remote desktop up in this mother.
Yeah, we talking PCs here and stuff. I don't know, in the internets. How is, maybe it's obvious how crucial your internet, any internet connection for the most part, is going to be sufficient these days, or is that what would generally create some lag? Or are we not seeing?
Yeah, I mean,
real lag with any decent
internet connection is going to get you a pretty solid remote desktop experience these days. You really only need about 5 to 7 meg up for a good connection, a good solid remote connection, but it has to be a good solid 5 to 7. You can't be dipping down into the 2s and 3s.
No,
that ain't flying here. So, and most providers these days have a minimum of 10 up. But hey, I mean, unless you're in like a rural kind of thing, I can't help you, man. I can't help you.
Okay. What did I don't remember what I had. I played golf today. I just wanted to throw that out there. This is a little bit of a personal timestamp. I actually played some golf. Maybe this is the cheat for you guys out there. I thought this would be for my entertainment only, of course, to ask what the total number would be if you added up our 4 PDGA numbers today. Because it's not that they're incredibly low per se, but the 4 of us that played golf today, comes in
under 50, under 60. Who was it that was playing?
Yeah, under 50. Holy cow!
Was it
myself?
Was it Steve Held?
Of course, Steve Held.
Who was a 7,500.
Yep. 7257. Tom Jenkins, who's 9852 or 9582. Sorry, the other one I repeated is Johnny McRae's because you just transposed 2 of their numbers, which is funny. And then Kazi, who's in the 14,000s, so or 13,000s,
easily.
So yeah, that's pretty crazy. And not that this is any weird badge of honor or anything silly. I just think
surprising.
When you compare that though to so many players today, and you just think about like where we're at within the PDGA. It makes
total sense. Like, more than likely, someone with a smaller PDG number is probably going to play with somebody else with a smaller PDG number because that's who they've played with for a long time. I would say it might, I don't want to say rarer, but it might be a more uncommon instance to have someone with like a 4-digit PDG number playing with someone with a 6-digit PDG number, unless it was their kid or a tournament. I mean, who are you more likely to play with these days? A stranger or your friends?
I don't usually only play.
You don't have many friends, but
that's why I only exclusively play with strangers.
And then they're not your friend afterwards. So
some would beg to differ. Matt is out there talking about anyone buying the crypto dip.
Matt Krieger, you have 1.5 meg up.
Oh my gosh!
How do you survive?
You don't even know how to internet, do you?
How do you survive?
That's what happens when I think you're way out there.
700 or 800 meg up right now. I'm supposed to have a gig, but I it's like something like that. I don't know how you survive, buddy.
Yeah, that's a little bit silly.
It's time to get that SpaceX.
Yeah.
That Starlink.
I hear he comes and delivers or installs it himself.
Yeah, the Time Man of the Year, Elon Musk.
Exactly. I think he just shows up and does it.
I don't believe so, but I don't know. I don't have it.
Okay. Anything else that we've seen in terms of the 2022 season? We're continuing to see A tiers and Silver Series events, all those things like start to solidify some plans. Also, I think you're seeing a lot of events kind of filling in the gaps. And I'll say it right now because a number of events have reached out to lowly old Disc Golf Guy channel even, and things are competitive, as competitive as ever in terms of how they're trying to get people to their events, if they're going to have some kind of coverage, how much coverage they're going to have. It seems like that conversation is continuing to get all fired up. And I guess I would throw it out to anyone on the board. What have you guys seen? What is 2022 in your area looking like? Are you guys adding more courses? Is it added money that you're doing? Is it some other player benefits? Are you in or out of sync with the tour? Because naturally, you're not going to get a lot of people that you're going to pull off of the tour from a long distance away. So what are some of the things that you guys are seeing or hearing out there? That's what I'd love to see if there's going to be any success with that. Or do we just have so many events now that our players are going to play what are the obvious, and then from there they don't venture out much? Do you think are we at that stage? Are we saturated to that point where they're just not venturing off of the Pro Tour or the Silver Series at all?
Yeah, most of them. I think you've got a few pros like your Ellen Widboom, who kind of prefers maybe to hit some of the events she loves, and then she'll do A tiers or B tiers at events that, kind of suit her. But for the most part, I think most of the pros are just sticking to the tour. I don't. It's less exciting now in that aspect.
Sure.
That we're not seeing a ton of strays, and instead are kind of we have a legitimate tour. So, all
right. Well, I'm going to tease out there. I apologize. Who just asked about buying the dip? Tomorrow. I wish I would have been home long enough.
Some nacho dip.
There's a super chat. Thank you so much. Who do we got there? Andrew. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Andrew here in a moment as well. So good thing you super chatted. Tomorrow you're going to see a post about Matt regarding some crypto, some disc golf. I don't want to call it infused, but you're going to see a post by me. So please check out my Instagram and or my Facebook, and you're going to see something. If I had the product here with me tonight, I would have showed it on screen, but I left a little too early for that. So that's my tease. Just take a look tomorrow. Also, we saw Andrew super chat, so thank you. He says, shout out to the best podcast in disc golf. I don't know who he's talking to. Terry, check your Facebook messages. Would love your take on something that happened locally. And Andrew, I know you reached out to me last night. No, you reached out to me this morning. However, I had already done the recon.
Lay it on me, Terry. I've got an opinion.
Here's my only problem why I didn't necessarily, and I appreciate that it seems like you've done your diligence with this, but the long and short of this saga is that it seems as if somebody had run an event.
Good for them.
Potentially a few questionable decisions or calls or a little bit of shiciness may have been involved.
Ooh, what is this, F1 racing now?
And they have not seemingly made the contribution to some charities in which they had set out to do, and now seem to have either some excuses and or I guess excuses and or newfound hiccups, challenges, or excuses, however you want to call it, to not then giving to said charities in which they were under the pretense of hosting the event. And it sounds like it's gotten quite messy and, of course, very divisive and seemingly there's just been a lot of questions that have been raised. And this is out in Utah. My only problem with bringing it up and having a lengthy conversation about it, Andrew, is I also don't want the witch hunt to happen. Although you and others have laid out quite a compelling case that I read on Facebook at 2 a.m.
I was sleeping.
Yep. As I was reading about that, again, your case seems pretty solid, but it's just tough to put it out on blast when you don't know. So I guess the bigger question would be, what happens? What happens in general when somebody has this great goal or vision in mind of raising for a charity, and then it doesn't come true? It doesn't produce. It does, the proof's not in the pudding, and it falls way short. Is that blackballing that person?
I think it depends. I mean, there's clearly a lot of situations that could be happening here. It could be, hey, we wanted to raise a bunch of money for charity, and we weren't able to. Either you had, let's say, a 50-50 CTP. Our goal is to raise $1,000 for charity. Nobody signs up for the 50-50 CTP. Can you blame the TD for that? Not really. Or, can you say, hey, the 50-50 CTP had $1,000 in it. But guess what? There were all these other expenses that came up that I didn't know about, and this and that. And I got hit with this or that, and something happened, and that money just wasn't there for charity. I don't know the situation. I know literally zero about this.
Mm-hmm.
But each individual player needs to look at the situation if you're local and make that determination for yourself. I mean, this is just common sense, I guess. And if you feel that it is a shortcoming of the TD, or you feel like they are not necessarily in the up and up, then work through that with your local area, your local club. It's a lot difficult. It's a lot difficult. That's a great way to phrase it. It's very difficult right now because TDs can kind of just open an event and people will sign up. There's not much you can do. You can try to, I don't want to say blackball, but let it be known what a particular TD is known for, whether it's good or bad, and see what happens. That's from someone who knows zero about the actual situation. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, and it sounds, again, like Andrew and a number of people have put together quite a bit of research and have run some numbers and have compiled all the, they've done all the investigating, really, is the best way to put it. And again, it looks like the case is pretty strong that there's some kind of shisty or shady dealings. And obviously, no one wins with that. Like, it sucks that if you have someone that either overpromised and couldn't deliver or didn't deliver, or just had ill intentions off the bat. I mean, I don't know if people know this, but when you're running a scam, if you're running a scam or attempting to, there's a lot of really smart people that are going to probably get onto you. I guess maybe not all the time, but eventually they will. And then I think, was that $200 worth like ruining your reputation forever, or even that $2,000? Like, that to me, obviously, I find crazy. So I guess we'll see how it unfolds. Christy says, you guys are too nice. Bring out the pitchforks. I mean, again, all I can say to it is I've read the case as presented, and there's not much. I can't come to a judgment. And
disc golf court.
Yes, that's exactly.
We can bring this up on disc golf court. Can we get Paige Shue to be the judge? I mean, it makes sense, right?
Why her? State your case for why Paige Shue.
One, I think she's very honest and fair. Second of all, I think her signature disc is the judge.
Okay.
I mean, honestly.
Okay, done. That sounds like she's got a part-time gig now.
All right. So Paige Shue, if you listen to this, and we know you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she does. You're our disc golf judge.
Andrew says,
I mean, there is an EMAC judge, I suppose, too. But
this was an event ran with proceeds to go to charity. The TD kept the money, then lied about it and attempted to cover his tracks. This is clearly fraud. I don't think anyone likes that at all. That's not going to probably end well for him, and it doesn't sound like it's going right now too well for him. Christy also says, I think this actually happens more than people think. Disc golfers are generous almost to a fault. Yeah, it's too bad when you do get burned. And I'm going to give a quick PSA, and I'd like to think this is obvious, but it clearly isn't by the amount of times we're seeing it. If you're out there posting and saying like, oh, hey, maybe I'm looking for a disc golf bag, or you're out there lurking around on some of the buy, sell, trade type pages and all those other things, when somebody comes to you, maybe even unwarranted, and they reach out to you and they give you an offer that is way too good to be true,
probably is.
Probably a scam. And I know that sounds obvious, but the amount of people I see getting scammed and then talking about it daily on Facebook when they're like, I know, but I mean, this guy was offering this brand new grip bag that goes for $279. You know, he said he'd ship it to me for just $99 and he needed the money. So yeah, I took him up on it, and yeah, you got scammed. Again, I only repeat it because I'm seeing it happen on the daily, and I think, come on, people. I'm all about a good deal, but when it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
This is one of the reasons why you and I and me by myself with Skip Ace and stuff have run different things for charity. One of the things that I always make a very, very pointed point to do is post the receipts. If you know, this last year Skip Ace ran something from a Paul Macbeth charity, the very first thing I did when I made that donation was post it on Facebook. And it's not to get a pat on the back. It's not to say, oh, no, look at what we did. I mean, although that's great and everything, but it is to show proof that you're right. When you entered into this contest and you won, you know, it was the Paul Macbeth Players Pack, that money that you entered into the contest for went to the Paul Macbeth charity. That is why I do it, just because I want to make sure that everything, it looks like it's on the up and up. So I think
even if you do Photoshop said receipts.
Well, gosh, I'm great with Photoshop. Have you seen my Photoshop skills lately?
Yes, they're top notch.
Literally, I'm not lying. I have this up on Photoshop right now. I'm gonna show it.
This is some next level stuff.
This
guys.
is next level Photoshop.
Yeah, this was his attempt at drawing a zebra. And here's as far as we've gotten.
This was my Photoshop skills right there. So it is a white wall with yellow boards on it because I was trying to lay out exactly how I want my garage to look with the different French cleats that I'm putting up there. That is my Photoshop skills. I can draw triangles or rectangles, whatever its shape that is, and squares. So congratulations to my Photoshop skills. So you don't have to worry about me trying to Photoshop a receipt because it would look like trash.
It would be, you're suggesting it would be obvious.
I'm suggesting it would be obvious. It would probably look like crayon.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right. Disc Golf Con. I had a conversation with the few of the
Speaking of disc
golf convention.
Thank you.
I had a conversation with a few of the gentlemen over there. They continue to put together. I think they just released, also since our conversation, they've released a few more details about disc golf. I'm going to go check it out on the website with regard to a few of their locked-in players and what's taking place. Oh, the pro celebrity guest list. And just quickly looking at it, you see the likes of Eagle McMahon, Drew Gibson, Wysocki, Heimberg, Dickerson, Queen, Jones, Double G, Conrad, Coling, Freeman, Oakley, Keegan, Felberg, Colton Montgomery, Cole Radalin. Also,
that's a who's who of disc golfers.
Of course, yeah. And then all the top women you would expect. Currently on here shows Kristen Tatar, Pierce, Allen, Gannon, Holcomb, Panis, Owen Scoggins, Jennifer Allen, and the list goes on and on. And that brings me to a conversation piece that we actually had glossed over and forgot about earlier.
I can't believe how upset I am at this.
Yes. Earlier, we saw the announcement, just a day or two ago, we saw the announcement of the Rookies of the Year.
Congratulations to two very young and attractive players.
Yes. Gannon Burr taking it down on the MPO side, and Juliana Korver on FPO. Johnny, speak to your outrage.
I am outraged, like fuming outraged that Juliana Korver got Rookie of the Year. She is a 5-time world champ, Terry Miller. How could the DGPT even remotely think about using whatever criteria they had set to give her Rookie of the Year? I cannot believe it.
Well, they did. And Juliana, who did not win it from the PDGA perspective back in the 90s, just thought she'd put that one on the back burner, and she just picked that up in a couple decades later. and we see her awarded that just a few days ago.
And I'm clearly mocking anyone that feels outraged over the Juliana Korver decision. You would think that maybe I would know something more, but I don't, about how the DGPT works behind the scenes. All I can assume is that the criteria for the DGPT was set ahead of time. That they didn't just make it up at the end of the year, because I'm assuming they did. I have no clue. But it makes sense that, guess what? This is Juliana Korver's year back. This is a new tour. And like it or not, she's the rookie. She's the tour rookie. What I'm curious about, Terry, is that how serious, so to speak, are we going to take these rookies of the year versus the PDGA rookie of the year? Now, when someone says, "Hey, who is your 2021 FPO rookie of the year?" What are you going to say? Let's just say in 2 months.
Yeah, correct.
Is it going to be the PDGA one or is it going to be the DGPT one? And I don't care if the DGPT has a ton of awards they hand out and whatnot, or the PDGA does the same thing. I'm just thinking of which award is going to be held in a higher regard, or is the official, unofficial rookie of the year now? I mean, Gannon Burr might win them both.
Sure.
But we know that Juliana won't win it for the PDGA. I don't know who will. I haven't looked at the current standings for the PDGA Rookie of the Year for FPO currently. I don't know. I've got no problem with her winning it because guess what's technicality. You saw a bunch of people post out on social media of other sports that have had this type of issue. I think it was hockey back in the 80s. Someone pointed me to an article. I think it was Sam Martin maybe had done that and said something along the lines of there was a player who played over in Russia for years and years and years and racked up, he's more or less, I think, the Gretzky of Russia, came over to the NHL and won Rookie of the Year, and he was in whatever. Does that count? I mean, you're going from a non-league to a league. If Aaron Rodgers decided to quit the NFL and went over to the Canadian Football League, should he win Rookie of the Year if he goes and throws 50 touchdowns? I don't see a problem with any of this. So, frankly, if you're upset about Juliana Korver winning Rookie of the Year, take a big drink of water and just relax.
Wow. You put them in their place.
I'm going to put them in their place with a big drink of water.
As it was announced on the Pro Tour's Instagram, and it had the little distinction. It said Rookie of the Year awarded to the highest points finisher in each division.
A minimum of 3 events.
With fewer than 3 DGPT events played prior to the 2021 season.
So she had not played DGPT events prior to the season, at least 3 of them. So this year she played,
more than 3.
More than 3. It doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. But it says awarded to the highest points finisher in each division with fewer than 3 DGPT events played prior to the 2021 season.
Cool. So the very first year, did Paul McBeth win the Rookie of the Year? I don't believe there was a Rookie of the Year in 2015 or 2016, the first year of the tour. But because it's the first year of the tour, it would be whoever played the best that particular year. You'd have to think it was probably Paul McBeth. But I don't think there was a particular Rookie of the Year in 2015. But it would have been Paul McBeth or Ricky Wysocki, but probably Paul that year because he had a dominant year. So anyway, it's such something so stupid to get worked up about. That's how I feel.
All right. Well, listed also, we want to note that the Missy Gannon is the Elaine King Player of the Year. It says Gannon's back-to-back wins at the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championships and the Tour Championships helped break the women's single-season cash record. So,
and that makes sense. She was a great player. She finished off the year extremely, I'll say extremely strong, but literally as strong as you can finish off a year.
Yeah. So, congratulations to her. What do we see? The men's player of the year, the Ken Climo men's player of the year announced in the next day or two as well. And then real quick, I want to get a plug in because I know all of you that are watching now are definitely going to be there tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, if you're listening to this in real time, it will be Wednesday night. I am going to have the pleasure of doing a little rewatch, a live rewatch with Kristen Tatar, who, of course, took down the Great Lakes Open. Her and I are going to take a look at an edited final round of that event and break that down. We've seen a number of the rewatches throughout this year that have taken place. They actually were taking place last year. Tomorrow, I have the pleasure of catching up with Kristen Tatar, and that will, of course, be provided over there on the Disc Golf Network. So, hoping you guys can join and be part of that as well. Looking forward to it. I think there's a few more rewatches that include. I know I will be doing one as well for the final round of Worlds with Katrina Allen, and I believe maybe Ian Anderson or somebody's going to be doing one with James Conrad as well. So those are also still in the works. I think those are going to come in January. Keith Allen said, so Scott Stokely is running for 2022 Rookie of the Year?
I think he's played more than 3 DGPT events in the history of DGPT, but if he hadn't, then yes.
Yeah, that would be in a very similar category. Ella Hansen would have been the vote. JK winning is just fine. She earned it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure of this, but I bet Ella Hansen probably took second in point in record or whatever the objective.
Katrina, you were talking. There's 2. I'm sorry, I'm just reading. JK just needs the promotion too. There's so many new players who didn't know her before this year, which has also been just great to see all of the JK story.
I don't know if a lot of players didn't know her, but didn't expect to see her would be the way I would put it.
Maybe I would agree that many of the FPO players may have, in fact, known who JK was, but the general viewing public had not prior to this year.
Here's what I think the general viewing public probably had a general idea of her because she has a disc. She has the JK AVR. Like, she has a disc. What we know of players, especially ones who are watching the Pro Tour, is that they are avid disc golfers who tend to know. It feels like an absurd amount about anything and everything when it comes to disc related things. So I would have to assume that people have at least heard of her. Your new casuals who probably aren't watching the DGPT probably don't know her, but I think a majority of the people who at least are watching the DGPT, even if you're new as of a year or 2 years ago, probably at least have a general idea of who she is. But that's neither here nor there.
I would love to think that. I would respectfully disagree. I wish that was the case, but I don't think that was. And I say the same thing of Ken Climo. I think many players couldn't identify with or know Ken Climo, even though his name's on a ton of discs, just because he has not had that presence for the last few years. Again, I wish that wasn't the case, but I'm going to guess that it has been. Yes, she does also have the champion, Valkyrie. Seems like a bit of recency bias for Gannon. Also, why does Throw Pink matter for DGPT? PP won like 6 Pro Tours. Gannon won 1 or 2. Seems like a miss. Well, for starters, the Throw Pink was definitely regarded, whatever classification distinction it had, in terms of, I don't want to say just being an A tier this year, very much regarded as if it were a major. Again, I know you could split hairs and say that it technically was not, and I can get behind that because it did not have that distinction. Did Paige win 6 Pro Tours this year, though? Because I don't think she did. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say she didn't. And, I think you're thinking of Paige's just overall dominance that we've seen from her throughout the last few years, but her dominance was not nearly as prevalent this year. Now you're going to make me go do the work, and I will. Paige... DGPT. I'm going to go to some standings here and confirm just how many we saw out of...
You should be going to UDisc Live for that.
That's, I guess, technically where. Yeah, that's where I am.
Oh, that's where it brings you.
Yeah. I'm going to go to FPO, and we're going to look at Paige 1-3. She won LVC.
That stops at the preserve there.
Oh, thanks. Good call. Well, through the preserve, she won. How do I scroll? UDisc? Can I not? Is that?
She might have won 6 this year, Terry.
No, she won 3.
4.
Oh,
Idlewild,
never mind. 1,
Ledgestone,
2,
Portland,
3, 4. She won 5.
5.
So we were all wrong. Yeah, she did win
It's way over there.
5.
I can't see it.
Missy.
Ronald Harkey says she won 5. So that's
Missy, won the Tour Championship, which was the largest purse in disc golf history.
well. Here's a little clue. My guess: Paige Pierce is going to win the DGBT Player of the Year, and they wanted to give something else to Missy. Why give it to her too? That's my guess. Swear to God, I bet you that's a lot how a lot of this crap happens.
Wait,
And maybe there was, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was some formula behind how she won the Elaine King Player of the Year. I don't know, but I doubt it. I'm guessing.
no, it was voted upon.
Cool.
I think I voted. Should I share with you who I voted for?
I don't know.
No, I don't remember at this point. Those were voted upon.
Really, the Elaine King Player of the Year was voted upon?
Yeah,
How come I didn't get a chance to vote?
because you don't matter.
Clearly.
I mean, I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter, but no one here cares about it.
Well, that's why I have to start a podcast so people listen to me.
That doesn't mean it matters. They just have to listen to it at that point.
So even if that is the case,
Mm-hmm.
I bet you most people probably had like someone said, a recency bias with Missy. It's very hard to distinguish between DGBT and other majors and things like that. I don't know. That's just my thought is that you're going to see Paige Pierce win the DGBT Player of the Year, FPO. That's my guess. Did they announce it yet? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't pay attention.
It was Missy Gannon. She's the Elaine King
the
Player
Elaine
of the
King
Year.
Player of the Year. Oh, I was thinking that. I see here. I thought that it was different. How does she win and Paige won 5 Pro Tour events? I disagree with that. Then love me some Missy Gannon, but she won the tour. She won the tour finale. I'd have to go with Paige on that one.
Okay.
I wonder how that's figured. How is it figured, Terry? Look it up. Is it
just told
weighted?
you. I think I voted.
Yeah, great. You said I think I voted, but is it all based on player votes? Is it weighted based on?
There's certain people that are reached out to that vote on it.
That's it. Just a vote. That's it's so subjective. Don't like it.
Do you like the name of Elaine King Player of the Year?
Yeah, I do. It feels almost. I'm sorry for Elaine. It feels almost a little premature. If Elaine King has a great year next year, can she win the Elaine King Player of the Year? Like, isn't technically Elaine King always the Elaine King Player of the Year? And I love me some Elaine King, but it just feels a little. It feels a little premature to name the Player of the Year award after someone who's still actively winning FBO divisions.
There's a whole article.
I'm very proud of it.
There's a whole article that was released a long time ago, I believe. I'm going to put it in the in the chat for everybody if you want to click on it. That talks about the DGPT standings, the launches voting for off-season awards. It's all listed out there. I'm trying to see where it specifically. I'm not going to read this entire article to you guys, but you guys can go out there where it talks all about how it's put together.
Yeah, no, I like the fact that it's the Elaine King Player of the Year.
Okay,
I think it's a little weird and awkward, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, okay. So I'll give the quick rundown where it says Tour Points champion is most Tour points. Player of the Year, 25% Tour points, 25% Tour championship finish, 25% fan vote, and 25% media vote.
Okay. So
Rookie of the year is given to that player, blah, blah. We discussed that. And most improved player of the year is 50% fan vote, 50% media vote.
I don't like that either. I don't like most improved being a vote. Like, I would rather see that as statistical. At least player of the year, I can understand giving it some points and some some input from the media / fan vote, this and that. I'll give that one. That's fine. I don't like most improved as a vote. Like, I think that person improved a lot. No, we literally have statistical analysis. We could literally bring up UDisc and tell you who the most improved is. Like, we saw that.
What if they didn't play the year before?
Then they can't win the most improved. You can't win comeback player of the year if you didn't fucking come back. No, you're done. That's it. That's the end of the question. You can't win it. No.
What if you're Juliana? Could she be the comeback player?
I don't think she... That's a tough one. That's a tough one, actually. But I don't think she can for DGPT. She could be the PDGA comeback player of the year, but not the DGPT one.
All right. Yeah. I mean, Matty O for comeback player of the year?
No, possibly. I think he played some DGPT events the year before.
All right.
But anyway.
All right. Well, let's do a giveaway.
I have a giveaway to give away, Terry Miller. If you want to be eligible for our giveaway, you can sign up at patreon.com/smashboxtv, where you can be eligible for our Patreon giveaway. Every week we give away a disc, a minimum of a disc. Sometimes it's like a disc member package. Mm-hmm. Sometimes
it's a shirt.
It's a shirt.
Sometimes it's jerky.
Yeah, we've given away jerky.
All sorts of goodies.
We've never given away a sweatshirt or a hoodie, which are two separate things. But we've given away polos, things like that. So if you want to be eligible, please sign up at patreon.com/smashboxtv and help support us and all the fun stuff that we do when we give you exciting nights like tonight with Todd Lyon and Steve Hill.
That's where it's at.
It is. That's where it's at. So we have 180 people eligible for our giveaway, Terry Miller. How in the world should I give this away?
I want to give it to our most improved comeback Patreon subscriber of the week.
And that's voted on by us.
Yeah, whatever.
So, what number should we draw between 1 and 180? You should just actually tell me a number once between 1 and 180.
Yeah.
And then I could literally pick it because you don't see it right now.
Yeah. We got to go with part of my PDGA number, 38.
38. Okay, we're going to do number 38. Game. So we're not even going to do random.org.
No, random in my head. That's not random because 38 is the last two digits of my PDGA number.
38, and you don't know how I sorted it.
I have no idea.
I did sort it by first name.
So 38. Wow, this is
30.
Exciting.
This is different. 38
this is very different.
Chip Tenoria. Congratulations, Chip Tenoria, for being our Patreon winner tonight.
Heck yeah. Chip.
Yeah.
And that's a new name. I've never shipped to Chip.
Never shipped to Chip?
I don't believe I have.
Yep.
I've shipped my pants, but I've never shipped to Chip.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so congratulations, Chip Tenorio. You apparently are going to win tonight's Patreon giveaway, which is a disc that out of
I'm not shipping my pants to Chip.
You should.
But I will ship something. I will ship Chip something. It won't be chips, but I'll definitely ship Chip something.
Some dip?
Nope. I'm gonna dip on the Chip.
I'm sure he gets sick of.
I'm sure.
I'm sure he gets sick of Chip like that.
Don't give him any more Chip. All right.
Yes. Andrew Hanks brings up kind of a funny thing that Dixon Jowers had posted today about some of the other fun awards the DGP should give away. The fastest player of the year award, Nicola Castro.
Yep.
The most the
meat eaters of the year in Eagle McMahon and Ezra
Aderhold. Shortest run up of the year, James Conrad.
Yeah,
those are funny ones as well. But congratulations, Chip. We will get that out to you. You'll see an email from Terry, probably verifying your home address. So thanks for being a Patreon supporter. Again, if you want to be a Patreon supporter, it's very simple. It's really, really easy. Just go to patreon.com, if I can say it, /SmashboxTV, and you can sign up. And we would love you more for it.
Yeah, we really
I'll
love
send
you
you a
the most.
personalized message if you sign up. I don't know what that'll be, but we can start a conversation. You can be my friend.
Yeah, there you go again, forcing your thoughts and opinions on people, making them listen to you.
Only if they want. They don't have to respond.
That's true. They do not.
Just like in this podcast.
Eric says, I'm doing drywall in the other room, and I had to run over and write LOL to Terry. All right. I don't know if we have anything else in here, Johnny.
I don't.
Just about the holidays. Next week, we'll still be here for our regularly scheduled podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be December 22nd. Yeah, and then the next one, obviously being the 29th, that seems like that'll probably be a regular show. Maybe we'll do something a little different or crazy or unique for that show. Maybe we should have a game night or do something like that.
Could be fun.
On one of those nights. And, yeah, I'm participating. Ooh, it's a very secret Santa. And Cloudbreaker's released tomorrow. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Cloudbreaker 3 released tomorrow on Discmania. You're going to get yourself some?
I already got some.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
There
was a very limited amount that was out to the dealers. So, yes, I have mine. I don't think mine showed up in time. So there's a rule about as to what time they can actually release or when they can go for sale. Plenty of dealers did not get them in time to be able to put them up for sale. And I think I fit into that category.
They're probably going, oh, you have them right now?
They're en route.
They're en route. So they probably could go on sale tomorrow. Or something, because this is limited to one per customer.
Yeah, so they can go. They are released worldwide tomorrow. So if you are a dealer that has them, you can now start selling them tomorrow. I'm a dealer that ordered some
that doesn't have them.
That does not have any. So even if I wanted to sell them, I really can't tomorrow.
I mean, you could pre-sell them,
but I don't want to do that.
You're a big fan of showing everybody the disc that they're actually getting.
I love to show off my disc. I do it any chance I can. Whether they want to see it or not.
That is offensive in a lot of ways.
I got a big disc collection.
You do.
All right.
It's awkward.
That doesn't have to be.
The disc collection that you have.
Yes, there will be lots of fighting about it tomorrow as to if people want to go out and try and pick up their one that you can directly on Discmania. Otherwise, you might be best off looking for a local vendor. So. Guys, we're going to call it. I've had enough.
What are we calling it?
We're going to call it a night. Don't you know what the night can bring? Okay, we're going to...
That's weird.
Call it. Thank you guys for joining us. Wow. Yeah, get all your Christmas cookies and shopping and all that other good stuff done. If you want, support us on Patreon or don't. We know who we like, who's on our list.
No,
we literally see a list every week of who we like and who we don't. But thank you guys. We do appreciate it. And as Johnny said, thanks to Todd Lyon for joining us a little bit earlier in the regular show, along with Steve Hill. For Johnny V and myself, the Disc Golf Guy, that's episode 381. We'll see you next week. You step inside the Smash Box.